subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
The four people on the opposite side shook their heads amusedly. Chapter 51. Minchi's guard Kiya did not agree to act with Minchi and the others, even though Minchi repeatedly invited them. After all, Minchi and others came here to develop the secret realm, while Kiya himself came here to kill the monsters in the secret realm and the ruins. The purpose between the two is completely different. After resting in the hotel for one night, Kiya came out of the city together with Minchi and others. Then, let's say goodbye here, Kiya. Standing at the three-way intersection, Minchi smiled and waved to Kiya. On the other side of the fork in the road, Kiya also nodded lightly goodbye. After finishing speaking, Kiya turned around and walked straight towards the ruins. Looking at Kiya's back, Minchi waved his hand, looking slightly dazed. She didn't expect that she and Kiya would meet so soon after the time in the wetland. It was thanks to the existence of Kiya that she saved her life in the wetland. For Kiya, Minchi is deeply grateful. This time she met Kiya, she was going to see if she could help Kiya, but Kiya flatly rejected the invitation. It wasn't until her companion reminded her that she came back to her senses and quickly followed her companion. Hey, Minchi, even though that kid is a nun, he has already rejected it, so you don't need to repeat the invitation. On the way, Bai Lu, who owned an airport at a young age, said very unhappy. The others nodded in agreement. Minchi was the leader of their group, and they were all very dissatisfied with their leader's invitation to Kiya after being rejected yesterday. Since Kiya is not willing, why continue to invite them, making them seem to be begging Kiya for a look? Haha, I know you guys are upset, but if Kiya can join, then our security in this secret realm will be greatly enhanced. Do you still remember what I told you about the depths of the wetland in Shamil? Minchi laughed, understanding the feelings of his companions, without emotion, but asked a question instead. You're talking about the Warcraft Overlord Sa-Mo being killed? Why are you saying this all of a sudden? Bai Lu raised her eyebrows and asked in confusion. Hey, Minchi didn't answer, but smiled. Seeing Minchi like this, Kikur, a small young man, suddenly had some guesses and an exaggerated expression. Hey, Minchi, don't tell me. It was the Samok that kid killed? As soon as these words came out, the eyes of several people were all on Minchi. Being watched by several people, Minchi puffed out his chest immediately and nodded proudly. That's right, Sa-Mo was killed by Kiya. So you now know why I asked him to join our team. Kiya has the ability to kill Sa-Mo. Invite him to join us. Then our business will be much safer. Moreover, Kiya also has the ability to heal. He saved me last time. The expression on Minchi's face became more and more smug, as if she had killed Sa-Mo herself. Minchi's affirmation immediately shocked several people. They had heard the existence of Kiya from Minchi before, but Minchi didn't say Kiya's name, and yesterday Minchi also said that Kiya was a little brother, plus Kiya looks so small. So they didn't think about it at all. I didn't expect Kiya to have such strength. Minchi are companions, so naturally there is no need to lie to them. It's a pity. If I had known earlier, I would have betrayed my appearance and kidnapped him into our team. Bai Lu said with a face full of regret. As soon as these words came out, the corners of Bahara and the others twitched. Speaking of which, you don't even think about how big Kiya is, and she actually wants to seduce an 8-year-old child. Thank goodness you figured it out. Being stared at by several people, Bai Lu immediately thought of this and smiled awkwardly. At this moment, she suddenly felt a sharp gaze. Following his gaze, he saw Minchi was staring at her vigilantly. This discovery immediately made Bai Lu's mouth twitch. Minchi, what are you doing? UBD, you actually want to hit my little brother's attention, Minchi said with a look of guard. Bai Lu, I warn you, Kiya belongs to the Zoldyck family. If you're not afraid of death, you could try it. As soon as these words came out, Bai Lu trembled all over, thinking of the vicious name of the Zoldyck family. She was quite frightened and hurriedly waved her hands. Don't be kidding, I don't have such thoughts at all. The others were also shocked. Humph! Seeing Bai Lu's terrified expression, Minchi snorted softly and nodded in satisfaction. After that, she didn't continue to say anything. She turned around and walked towards the direction of Barker's secret realm. However, in his heart, Minchi was wary of his teammate. This guy Bai Lu actually has such thoughts. No, you have to be careful. Kia is a potential stock and cannot be robbed. The others followed closely. Bahara, who was walking at the end, had a strange look on his face. He noticed Minchi's expression just now. Apart from being unhappy, Minchi's expression just now was obviously more anxious, as if he was afraid of something being taken away. This can't help but make him have some guesses about Minchi's mind. However, he didn't say anything, but silently hid the matter in his heart. On the other side, Kia's side, after several hours of walking, Kia finally came to the outside of the Kekali ruins. In front of Kia is a dense, dark forest. From the outside, you can't see what's going on inside. A desolate aura rushes towards your face, shaking Kia's position. According to the information, from this forest is the scope of the Kekali ruins. What will happen after this is still unknown. Kia looked up slightly, then walked in without saying a word. Chapter 52 Traps. This ruin is a bit like a certain civilization in the previous life. After a few hours' journey, Kia entered the ruins smoothly. As soon as he entered the ruins, Kia saw all kinds of ruined walls and ruins. These ruined buildings were all made of stone, and some there are also mysterious and complex bright paintings and textures on the walls of the building. However, due to the dilapidated relationship, these mysterious paintings and textures have long lost their original light, color, and moss-covered buildings in the long history, which made Kia feel a kind of civilization at a glance. The feeling of loneliness and desolation after death. This kind of building is very similar to a certain mysterious civilization recorded in Kia's previous life. If it were those ancient historians, ancient architects, and related professional hunters, they would definitely be so excited that they would excavate these buildings quickly. Dig out the meaning behind it, civilization. However, these have nothing to do with Kia. Kia has no intention of staying here. Coming here on this trip, Kia's purpose has always been only one, that is to kill the monsters and monsters living in this ruins and obtain strengthening points. After glancing at the damaged historical buildings on both sides again, Kia shook his head slightly and left here. He has no time to waste here. However, just after Kia took a few steps, there was a sudden movement under Kia's feet. A crack appeared in an instant and spread rapidly, not even a second before and after. The next moment, the entire ground directly collapsed, and a dark hole appeared in Kia's field of vision. Kia was ready to jump away immediately, but it was too late. The collapse of the ground made Kia nowhere to rely on, unable to jump up at all, and fell directly along the collapsed ground. Kia frowned suddenly, not flustered at all, very calm. With a flick of the cuff of his left hand, an aluminum alloy yo-yo appeared in his palm. Kia flicked it hard and flung it towards the entrance of the cave. The next moment, Kia's falling figure stopped, and outside the entrance of the cave, the yo-yo was firmly wrapped around a huge ruined wall. At this time, everything around Kia is dark. Only the hole above the head has the slightest light. Kia's body floated gently in the darkness. It's so dark, you can't be careless for a moment. Kia was slightly relieved and then sighed. However, the next moment, Kia's expression changed suddenly. With a bang, the aluminum alloy wire in Kia's hand broke directly, and the whole person fell into the darkness again. On the ground, the yo-yo and the silk thread at the other end lay quietly on the broken stone slab. An afterimage flashed quickly. There are enemies outside. Kia was startled suddenly and read. However, the current Kia doesn't have the heart to think about it. It was so dark that Kia couldn't distinguish the surrounding environment at all. Kia only knows that this hole is very deep. Kia fell for more than 10 seconds, but still did not fall to the ground. Zizizi. With a clear chirping sound and the faint blue lightning covering the whole body, Kia directly entered the state of super speed. Everything around is illuminated. I saw that 2 meters away from Kia were walls covered with moss. Where Kia is now is a square passage, a bit like the passage of a chimney. But below was still dark. This made Kia feel a little terrified. How deep is this passage? I have fallen for so long, but I still haven't reached the end. Shouldn't it fall directly to the end of the Earth's center? Wouldn't I be dead like that? Just when Kia was teasing herself, a change finally appeared below Kia. I saw a white light spot zooming in quickly in Kia's field of vision. In the blink of an eye, it was already several meters in size. And Kia also realized something. The thoughts in his body suddenly condensed, making his body slow down. But if so, it still doesn't have much effect. With a loud noise, gravel flew horizontally, and a fountain of gravel rose into the sky. The huge gravitational force brought by Kia's landing caused Kia to smash into the ground heavily. After more than 10 seconds, the gunpowder smoke slowly dissipated, revealing the situation inside. I saw that Kia was covered in mud and dust, and he was extremely embarrassed. At this moment, Kia was sitting cross-legged in the deep pit, with her chin resting on her hand, and she had a gritted teeth expression. That guy above, don't let me meet you, or I will definitely tear you to pieces. Let your body be smashed to pieces. Let your soul fly away. After venting a few words, Kia slowly stood up from the pit. The strong physique prevented Kia from being seriously injured by falling from such a high place. If it were an ordinary person, he would have been smashed to pieces long ago. Of course, if Kia hadn't forcibly condensed her thoughts at the last moment to make her body lighter, Kia would not be completely fine now. Injuries are inevitable. Where is this place? Jumping out of the deep pit, Kia patted the dust and dirt on his body while observing the surroundings. The place where Kia is now is a large stone chamber. According to Kia's estimate, the four-room area is about 100 square meters. There are walls made of stone blocks on all sides, tightly sealed, and there is no exit. That is to say, if I want to go out, do I have to go out through the hole where I fell? Kia looked at the tiny to invisible light spot above his head and sighed slightly. However, how can I go up such a high distance? I can't fly. Besides, both sides of this passage are covered with slippery moss. It is difficult to go up through the passage. Kia sat down on the ground with his hands on the ground, looking up and thinking speechlessly. However, even though he thought so, Kia's body moved very quickly. Nien Ki emerged in his hand, and a rock-climbing knife appeared in Kia's hand. The walls are covered with moss, so it is definitely impossible to go up by hand alone, but it is still possible to climb up slowly with a climbing knife. At this moment, Kia suddenly felt as if he had touched something with his hand, and couldn't help but let out a cry of surprise. After touching it carefully, Kia quickly looked at his hand. Root. Chapter 53 Body Forging Secret Treasure on the ground, where Kia's left hand was, there was a tree root coming out of a crack in the stone. There are tree roots in this place? Kia frowned slightly. I'll go. There are tree roots in such a deep place. I'm not mistaken, Kia said in surprise. Although I don't know how deep I fell, but judging from the time of the previous landing, the place where I am now is at least a few hundred meters underground. There are still roots in such a deep place. Kia couldn't help being curious. What kind of tree is it that can drill its roots so deep into the ground? With a soft sound, a thought energy spread out from Kia's body in all directions. Round the high-level joint application of wrapping and practicing allows the ki to expand outward with itself as the center and can detect intruders within the range covered by the ki. It is the ability to detect enemies, and it can also be used like Kia now to detect the surrounding environment. Kia was very curious about where this tree root came from. However, Kia was stunned by this perception, because just under the ground where he is currently, there are countless huge tree roots at this moment, intertwined, crisscrossing, and extending to nowhere. It's really scary. Kia was deeply shocked when she really felt the dense branches. Kia can't imagine what kind of tree can grow to this extent. Kia couldn't help but looked up at the almost invisible spot of light above her head and took a deep breath. I don't know what kind of creature you are, but thanks to you, I didn't think of using this trick before. Kia stood up and said, clapping his hands. Just now, Kia's circle not only sensed the intertwined tree roots underground, but also sensed the situation around the stone chamber. There is a passage more than 10 meters away from the wall of one of the stone chambers. That is to say, As long as Kiya breaks the wall and opens a tunnel, he can go out from this sealed stone chamber. For these, Kiya's experience is very insufficient. If it is not because of wanting to detect this tree root drilled out of the ground, Kiya really would not have thought of using the circle technique to detect the surrounding situation. However, this could be considered Kiya's luck. Kiya didn't spend a lot of time practicing circle, and she was not very proficient in circle, so the range of circle she could use was very small, not comparable to that of her grandfather Gino, and could only cover about 50 meters around. If the passage was farther away from this stone chamber, Kiya would not be able to detect it, because Kiya is now in the center of the stone chamber, and the radius of this stone chamber is at least more than 20 meters, plus a distance of more than 10 meters. Kiya will not be able to perceive it anymore. The climbing knife in his hand changed slightly, turning into a shovel. Kiya walked towards the wall. When he came to the wall, Kiya covered the shovel with Zhou and began to dig. Kiya didn't dare to use Thunderbolt to bomb. Under such a deep ground, using powerful thunder can easily collapse this stone chamber. At that time, Kiya will really complain that every day should not be done, that the earth will not work, and that she will be buried here alive. The use of Zhou made it easy for Kiya to dig through the passage of more than 10 meters. Less than 20 seconds before and after. Slap! When he came to the entrance of the passage, Kiya stepped forward and stepped out. The sound of shoes stepping on the water reached Kiya's ears. When he came here, Kiya discovered that this place is not a passage, but a cave, a natural cave. The place Kiya is stepping on now is a small stream, which seems to be groundwater. Nature is really amazing. Kiya looked at the grotesquely shaped stalactites on the top of his head, but shining with crystal light, and the incomparably beautiful stalactites were full of emotion. I found a secret treasure of Millennium Stone Milk. Please collect it in time. At this moment, the voice of the system suddenly sounded in Kiya's mind. Kiya couldn't help being slightly taken aback. 1,000-year stone milk? Kiya was taken aback for a moment and couldn't help looking around. Soon, Kiya saw something different on a sunken stone platform in the center of the cave. I saw that the sunken stone platform was now filled with milky white liquid. And above the stone platform, a stalactite that is obviously different from other stalactites, shining with silver light, is directly facing the stone platform. There was a drop of white emulsion hanging from its tail, but it never dripped. System, what is this? Walking to the stone platform, Kiya looked at the milky white liquid on the stone platform and asked suspiciously, 1,000-year stone milk is made from the natural essence of mountains, and it is a secret treasure for body forging. The system's answer is very brief and clear, and it does not specifically introduce the role of the 1,000-year stone milk, but simply explains the role of the 1,000-year stone milk. No more? Kiya asked in a daze. No, as long as the host knows. Taking this thing can make you get twice the result with half the effort when exercising. The system continued to reply. After finishing speaking, he dived directly. No matter how Kiya opened his mouth, there was no response, which made Kiya very speechless. My own system looks very cold. However, since the system has come out specifically to remind itself, then this thing is definitely a good thing. Kiya did not continue to stand still, and directly used the collection function of the system to collect the 1,000-year-old stone milk from the entire stone platform. Drop. Coincidentally, at this time, the stalactite above the head dropped another drop, and it landed on the empty stone platform. There was a crisp sound in this quiet cave. Regarding this, Kiya shook his head slightly and had no intention of putting this drop away. Turned around and left here. Kiya just wants to get out of here now. The purpose of his coming to this Cocoa Ruins is to find the demonic beasts here to eliminate and obtain strengthening points, but he doesn't have much time to waste here. Following the only passage in the cave, Kiya quickly left here. Chapter 54 Windfall. In the dark cave, Kiya walked slowly. The stalactite side was okay before. The tail of the stalactite was shining with light, and the brightness of the whole cave was fine. However, after leaving there, the surroundings were completely dark. Kiya's hands emanated a faint blue lightning that illuminated the 5-meter range around Kiya's body, so that Kiya would not become blind. As she walked, Kia's complexion gradually became strange, and her other hand was raised unconsciously, covering her nose. "It stinks." These two words rose in Kia's heart. Moreover, the ground suddenly became very soft. What's going on? Kia couldn't help but reach down to the ground with his lightning emanating hand. The faint blue thunder and lightning clearly showed the situation on the ground in Kia's line of sight. Seeing the things on the ground, Kia was slightly taken aback. What are these things and why do they stink so much? Looking at the large, sand-like particles on the ground, Kia was very puzzled. However, at this moment, the lightning in Kia's hand flickered suddenly. The next moment, a violent explosion spread from Kia's body. Caught off guard, Kia was blown out directly and flew backwards in the direction he came from. The powerful explosion directly sent Kia flying upside down tens of meters away, and Kia's whole body hit the mountain wall heavily. The sudden explosion made Kia stunned. Who I am? Why am I here? What am I going to do? A set of ignorant three in a row came to Kia's mind. However, Kia has no time to think about these things, because in Kia's field of vision, the blazing flame had already swept towards him. Kia's mind instantly cleared up, and she swears directly. FK. As we all know, this is a plant. Before the words fell, Kia's body was entwined with white light and disappeared into the passage in an instant. The next moment, monstrous flames swept across the sky, and the entire passage instantly became a sea of flames. The sound of explosions continued. On the other side, outside the end of the passage, on a huge palace and a high platform, a sloppy and unkempt uncle is sitting cross-legged on the high platform, with his arms crossed, quietly watching a huge stone tablet in front of him. And behind him is a hole that doesn't know where it leads. It's so hard to decipher. The words of the civilization in the ruins of Coco are really profound. The slovenly uncle pinched his chin, his brows were shaped like a river, and it was obvious that he was very distressed at this time. And on the huge stone tablet in front of him are engraved with various unknown, mysterious runes and images. Although it is impossible to know the meaning of it, it can be seen from these patterns and runes that this huge stone tablet is recording some kind of secret. It's been more than a month, and there are only some clues. This place is really mysterious enough, and I don't know how long it will take to solve the secret of this ruin. The sloppy uncle seemed to give up, spreading his hands behind his back, looking at the damaged ceiling, said lightly. According to the current progress, it will take at least 1 year or even 2 years to completely develop and renovate. It's really troublesome. The sloppy uncle rubbed his neck and said troubledly. However, the next moment, the sloppy uncle shrank his pupils and looked behind him suddenly. Then, the sloppy uncle also swears like Kia, and then he jumped up and jumped off the high platform. Depend on. At the moment he jumped off the high platform, fierce flames gushed fiercely from the hole, spread instantly, and engulfed the entire high platform in a blink of an eye. When the uncle who fell below saw this scene, his eyes almost popped out. I'll go, this is the historical inscription in Kekali. It can't be destroyed. The sloppy uncle just remembered that he ran down in a panic after seeing the flames just now, without any scruples at all. If the huge stone tablet was destroyed by flames, then the history of Kekali would be completely submerged in the tide of history. Isn't it meaningless for him to stay here for more than a month? This is not something he can accept. Without any hesitation, the sloppy uncle jumped up again and jumped back towards Gautai Mountain. On the other side, in the stone chamber that Kia fell from before, Kia's figure slowly appeared along with the white light. As soon as it appeared, Kia slumped on the ground. At this time, Kia looked very embarrassed. His clothes were black and full of holes, and his face was covered with dust. Kia's silver hair was swept by flames because of the explosion just now, and a lot of curly hair appeared. The whole person looks ridiculous. What the hell? Sitting slumped on the ground, Kia relaxed, with a cute expression on her face. He really didn't know what was going on in the situation just now. It exploded suddenly, he didn't know what was going on, and he couldn't react at all. And at this moment, a series of reminders suddenly sounded in Kia's mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing the green bat in Coco and gaining 12 enhancement points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing the green bat in Coco and getting. The system prompt echoed continuously in Kia's mind. This made Kia even more confused. It took more than half an hour for the reminder to stop completely, and Kia also recovered from the bewilderment. What did I do just now? After regaining consciousness, Kia asked himself unconsciously. Immediately, Kia suddenly remembered something and quickly opened the attribute panel in his mind. Name: Kia's Zoldyck ability, None. Conjurer None Speed Thunder, 5000. Trait None Space, 5000. Manipulator None Ring of Angels Archangel's Breath, 5000. Enhancer None, 5000. Emitter None Elimination, 1000. Note: the reinforcement points required for the next reinforcement are in parentheses. Deputy ability, Cuisine, Advanced Cuisine, 500. Note: in brackets are the enhancement points required for the next enhancement. Strengthening points, 9235. Item, Aluminum Alloy Yo-Yo. Looking at her more than 9,000 enhancement points, Kia blinked cutely. Is this a windfall? Chapter 55. This kid doesn't talk about martial arts. Snapped. With a crisp sound, Kia slapped himself on the forehead, speechless. What did I run just now? It would be better if I could just elementalize it, Kia complained to herself. The newly acquired ability of elementalization was forgotten by Kia. If Kia was elementalized just now, there is no need to worry about the monstrous fire. As long as Kia has enough thoughts, nothing will happen if she stands there and is burned by the fire for a day and a night. However, what happened just now? After complaining about her stupidity, Kia couldn't help thinking about what happened just now. Why did it suddenly explode? And it was still a series of big explosions that didn't stop at all. Could it be that there are enemies? Impossible. If it is an enemy, then that enemy must be mentally ill. That level of fire can only be blocked by someone like Kia, who has cultivated the enhancer to the point of jealousy and innocence when he uses Jian. But even so, he will also be injured. Kia is sure of this. Otherwise, you would not even think about using the space ability to transfer after seeing the fire sweeping over. Even if the none of other systems use Jian, at least a layer of skin will be burned off. Shaking his head slightly, Kia denied the plan of having enemies. Standing up from the ground, Kia tidied up his embarrassing situation and then walked towards the passage of the cave again. Soon, Kia came to the place where she was just now. The faint blue thunder and lightning illuminated the surroundings. This time, Kia directly started elementalization. Under the light of the faint blue thunder and lightning, everything around appeared. Gunpowder smoke was everywhere, and the stench was still pervasive. However, unlike the stench before, the smell now was a burnt stench. Kia couldn't help covering her mouth and nose again. Slowly squatting down, the lightning in his hand illuminated the ground. At this time, the particles on the ground had long since disappeared, replaced by densely packed animal corpses. Each of these corpses can be compared with the wildcats outside. The system reminded me just now that I killed the green bat in Kekali. In other words, these corpses are all bats, Kia thought silently. Although it was burned into coke, Kia can still see its outline from these coke. Despite their size, these are indeed bats. Thoughts flowed. Kia already had the answer in his mind. How did what happened just now? The place where I am now is a bat gathering place. Those particles on the ground just now are bat feces. After years of accumulation of these feces, it forms a toxic gas, that is, methane. The stench I smell just now is swamp gas. And when he came in here just now, he released thunder and lightning in his hand. Biogas will explode when it comes into contact with open flame and electricity. It was because of his own lightning that the methane exploded just now. And it's a series of big explosions. Once it explodes, all the methane here is detonated, so that kind of violent explosion will be produced. However, this passage is really strong, and the explosion of that level didn't blow it down. Kia looked around and sighed softly. Although I was bombed just now, I didn't lose money. I gained about 5,000 strengthening points all at once. After a while, Kia didn't have any intention of staying here any longer and walked forward. The explosion just now had detonated all the methane, and now there should be no explosion again. Moreover, Even if it explodes again, Kia is not afraid. The elementalization has already been activated. The explosion couldn't hurt Kia at all. On the other side, where the sloppy uncle is. After a lot of effort, the sloppy uncle finally put out all the fires. However, after it was destroyed, the sloppy uncle looked at the huge stone tablet that was blackened by the fire, and the corner of his mouth twitched involuntarily. This is the main part of my next work. It was actually destroyed like this. Can you still see it like this? He couldn't help feeling intense resentment towards the fire just now. Damn it, what happened just now? The sloppy uncle gritted his teeth, furious. Turning his head to look towards the entrance of the cave, the sloppy uncle walked towards the entrance of the cave. Get ready to go in and see what's going on inside. However, as soon as he reached the entrance of the cave, the sloppy uncle stopped in his tracks with a disgusted expression on his face. Ugh, it stinks. The sloppy uncle, smelling the disgusting stench coming from the entrance of the cave, retreated again, and then vomited directly on Gautai Mountain. After vomiting for more than a minute, the slovenly uncle wiped the corners of his mouth and looked at the entrance of the hole in surprise. What the hell is in here? It smells so bad. Startled by the sound of slight footsteps, the sloppy uncle was startled for a moment and then roared loudly. Which BD actually made such a thing? Get out of here! That is to say, the sloppy uncle is now angry because of the huge stone monument being burned by fire just now. So he did this. In the past, when he was calm, he would have hidden himself to observe the situation when he encountered the current situation. After all, this uncle has a very shy personality and doesn't like to meet people very much. Except for a partnership with a few other people at the earliest time, he was alone at other times. There was no response to the sloppy uncle's roar, and the footsteps were getting closer. This made him furious, rolled up his sleeves, ignored the disgusting smell, and was about to rush in, catch someone, and beat him up. However, at this moment, a voice finally came from the entrance of the cave. It's so noisy. A childish voice came from the entrance of the cave, making the sloppy uncle stop his movements. Then, the figure of Kia stepped out from the entrance of the cave. Children? Seeing Kia, the sloppy uncle looked surprised. High yield so gold. Kia, after coming out, saw the culprit who caused the echo poop in the cave. Her eyes widened, and she couldn't help shouting. Pfft. Who is the high-yield sow? You little brat, where are you from? Do you know that you are very rude? The sloppy uncle, that is, Jean Wenyin, immediately changed what he was about to say with a puff. Chung spit out his saliva and then asked with an unhappy face. Facing Jin's questioning, Kia ignored his plan. A pair of faint blue eyes stared at Jean, full of resentment. This guy won every year, wiped out all my monster points. Kia can't wait to give Jean Lai a thunderbolt to teach this guy a lesson. Kia stared directly at Jean, making him shiver all over. Who is this kid? He seems to know me, and he has a deep resentment towards me. Jean thought with a slight twitch in the corner of his mouth. Fortunately, Kia only stared at him for more than a minute, and then withdrew that look and returned to normal. Otherwise, Jean really didn't know what to do. Do you do it to children? Although he, Kim Freaks, is very generous, he is not good enough to do anything to a child. However, just when Jean thought this way, Jean felt a pain in his jaw, and then he flew out of the sky. Boom! I'll go, kid. Don't talk about Wuda. Chapter 56, Huge Wealth Boy, who are you? What is your hatred against me? Jean asked Kia, rubbing his chin that had just been straightened. What kind of grudge does this kid have against him? As soon as he came up, Kate punched himself directly. I don't even know him. If it weren't for the fact that this kid has no evil thoughts towards him, he would have fought back directly just now, letting this kid know what evil in society is. Kim Freaks, the old father of protagonist Jay Freaks. He is a cute uncle with a tsundere personality, a little shy, and a lot of cuteness when he is angry. One of the world's top 5 ninjas, one of the 5 strongest people in the world today, of course, not including the Dark Continent. Everyone in the Dark Continent is abnormal and incomparable. His achievements are enough to be a Samsung hunter, but he didn't apply because he thought it was troublesome. At the same time, he is one of the producers of the hunter game Greed Island. He has a very high IQ and has made achievements in many fields. He is proficient in biology, archaeology, linguistics, geology, games, etc. At the beginning of this year, this guy revealed that he had developed and renovated a ruin, the Reluca Ruins, by himself. He is a world-renowned figure, possesses the full power and financial resources of the president, and is a top-secret figure in the Hunter website. However, in Kia's eyes, this guy is a high-yielding sow. Revenge for blocking the way. Kia stared at Jean firmly and said expressionlessly. At this time, the two were sitting opposite each other, and both of them were unhappy with each other. The enmity that blocks the way? What do you mean? Jean was a little confused when he said this. What the hell is the enmity that blocks the way? You high-yield sow, you have given away many monsters in the secret realm, and I can't find a secret realm with many monsters, Kia replied, slightly unhappy. What? Isn't it normal for me to develop secret realms and clear out those dangerous monsters? This is something that benefits the world. Why is it hindering you? After saying this, Jean is even more upset. Destroying those monsters by himself is obviously to eliminate harm for the people, isn't it? Why is it still wrong? Well, of course, those monsters are still pretty delicious. Subconsciously, Jean recalled the deliciousness of the bear roasted on the ground some time ago. The saliva started to flow out, and Kia, who was looking at him, was puzzled and looked disgusted. Hey, high-yielding sow, don't you feel ashamed? Kia said with twitching eyes. I'm sorry, if you don't pay attention. Jean also recovered in time, wiped the corner of his mouth, and apologized. Then boy, I don't think it's wrong to kill those monsters. You know, those monsters are fine for ordinary people, but once they run out of those secret realms, it is a very troublesome thing for the human world, and it will cause a lot of casualties. So, it's eliminating harm for the people. Jean said in a lecturing tone. Why God was Kia's supercilious look. Although what this guy said is correct, Kia is still very upset with this guy. Without him, because of this guy, my monster spawning points are too much less. Forget it. I won't tell you, boy. That's the exit. Go out from there quickly. Don't disturb my development of the ruins. Seeing Kia's eyes, Jean almost didn't lose his temper, but he was still tolerated by Jean after coming down. He patted the ground unhappily, pointed to a hole under the high platform, and said. Immediately, he went back under the huge stone tablet again and began to study it. As for Kia, Jean is not interested in Kia, and he doesn't care how Kia got down. As for Kia, after hearing Jin's words, she curled her lips. Those who see have share. Want to own it? No way. Kia jumped directly from the place where the sacrificial high platform was and walked towards one of the directions. The place where Kia is located seems to be a treasure room, and this treasure room is truly resplendent and resplendent. The surrounding walls are filled with all kinds of rare treasures and gold jewelry. In such a situation, how could Kia leave directly? Once these things are obtained and sold, it will definitely be an unparalleled wealth. Compared with these, Kia's current worth is estimated to be only a fraction. If you have money but don't make money, you are ABD. Kia will not let these white money slip away from her hand. Soon, Kia came to one of the walls and directly used the system space to collect these treasures without saying a word. Jean, who was studying the huge stone tablet on it, seemed to have heard Kia's movement, so he couldn't help walking to the edge and looking at Kia, asking, 4 flowers. Seeing this, the corner of Jin's mouth twitched. Hey boy, I discovered this place first. According to Hunter's rules, whoever discovers it first will have the mining right. Is it really appropriate for you to just take away my wealth in front of me? Jean said speechlessly, although he is not interested in wealth. After all, his current worth is already unparalleled, and it is useless to ask for more wealth. But is it really good for Kia to openly take away his own wealth right in front of him? Do you think I'm a hunter? Kia, who was collecting rare treasures, turned around and responded with a mocking smile. That kind of smile made Jean want to beat him up. However, think about it or forget it. Jean walked back under the monolith again and continued to study. He was not very interested in these treasures. On the contrary, he is more interested in these precious histories. He is very concerned about what kind of civilization was born on their continent in the distant past. It was precisely because of this interest that he chose the career of ruin hunter when he became a professional hunter. Seeing Jin's reaction, Kia raised his eyebrows slightly. As expected of a man who has reached the pinnacle of power and financial resources, he is not at all tempted by these wealth. Shaking his head slightly, Kia charged again. Although the purpose of coming to this ruins is to find and kill monsters, it doesn't prevent me from earning extra money. These treasures are completely collected and sold for at least hundreds of billions of monks. This may not be worth mentioning to Jin, but it is a very huge wealth for himself. He wouldn't just miss it. After more than half an hour, Kia collected all the treasures on the main hall. The entire main hall went dark in an instant. Only a dozen or so candle lamps on the wall were emitting insignificant light. After collecting, Kia put her eyes on the sacrificial altar, frowned slightly, and after a moment of silence, Kia jumped up and jumped up. Huh? Why did you come up? Jin, who was studying the huge stone tablet, heard the movement, turned his head to look over, and asked Kia. After asking, Jin turned his head and started to look at the stone tablet again. Chapter 57 Archaeology. What's so good about this stele that makes you give up those treasures below? Kia was very puzzled by the fact that Jin regarded this stele as more important than the gold and silver treasures below. What do you know? What is recorded on this stele is a rare treasure for human beings, and it is a treasure that unlocks the splendid civilization in our human history. Hearing this, Jin curled his lips and said, very contemptuous of Kia. Regarding this, Kia shrugged and was not angry. This kind of thing is aimed at the character of the individual. For Jin, the relic hunter, the development of unknown relics may be more important than anything else. Otherwise, this guy wouldn't have sneaked into the team heading to the Dark Continent in the Dark Continent chapter, negotiating with Netero's son Beyonda. In his eyes, it is estimated that the 19 dates Dark Continent is also an unknown relic. It is a relic with the highest exploration significance. Ignoring Jin's contempt, Kia also came to the huge stone tablet, reached out and stroked the huge stone tablet lightly, carefully observing the lines on the huge stone tablet. Hey boy, do you understand these? If you don't understand, don't waste your time. Although he won't do anything to Kia, it doesn't prevent Jin from sneering at Kia and repaying Kia for his high-yielding so. The name of Kia rolled his eyes and ignored him. At this moment, Kia's mind rang again. Ding! Congratulations to the host for contacting precious historical relics, triggering sub-level abilities, archaeology. Hearing the voice in his head, Kia was slightly taken aback. Archaeology? Does this count as a secondary ability? Doesn't that count as a life force? Kia thought with some confusion. However, the next moment, Kia stopped being entangled and instead became suspicious, because Kia found that he seemed to be able to understand the image on the huge stone tablet. Although it's a bit blurry, Kia can roughly understand one or two images and characters now. One must know that the Kia just now knew 6 of these 7 orifices, and the rest didn't know anything. Big tree, 1,000 years, reincarnation, destruction. Kia saw clearly the meaning of several runes and images on the huge stone tablet. The rest can't be seen, which makes Kia feel a little itchy, wanting to understand all the remaining runes and images. Slightly frowning, Kia immersed her mind in her mind and called out her attribute panel. Name: Kia's Zoldyck ability, none. Conjurer none speed thunder, 5,000. Trait none space, 5,000. Manipulator none ring of angel archangel's breath, 5,000. Enhancer none, 5,000. Emitter none exorcism, 1,000. Note: the reinforcement points required for the next reinforcement are in parentheses. Deputy ability, cuisine. Advanced cuisine, 500. Archaeology. Archaeology rookie, 100. Note: the points in brackets are the enhancement points required for the next enhancement. Strengthening points, 9235. Item: aluminum alloy yo-yo. System: how many enhancement points are needed to add the archaeological ability to the highest level in the current world? Kia asked the system. Ding. Host, you need 10,000 points. The system immediately jumped out to answer. Hiss. Hearing this answer, Kia almost swears. What the hell? Didn't you say that subclass abilities are cheap? Why do you need so many enhancement points to upgrade a deputy ability? System, Are you sure you're not mistaken? Didn't you say that the sublevel ability needs very few enhancement points? The cooking ability is only a few hundred to reach the highest level in this world, but you actually need 10,000 for the archaeological ability. Key, I have a toothache. Host, the archaeological ability is a few levels higher than the cooking ability, and it is 2 levels worse than none, so the need for enhancement is naturally a lot. Also, please make it clear to the host that what you're asking about is the highest level in the current world, and this highest level also includes the archaeological ability on the Dark Continent. I'm going, is that so? The system reminded Kia also understood. This highest level corresponds to the Dark Continent. From this point of view, the Dark Continent is really terrifying. Cowardly. Cowardly. So, the system, how many enhancement points do I need to enhance my archaeological ability to the point where I can see this huge stone tablet clearly? Kia didn't think about strengthening it to the highest level. After all, there were not enough enhancement points. Moreover, even if it is enough, Kia will not spend so much on it. At least not now. If I have that spare money, wouldn't it be nice for me to use it on it? Ding. Host, if you want to see the runes on the giant stone tablet clearly, you need an archaeological expert level, and you need 2,000 enhancement points. Expert. Hearing these two words, Kia suddenly had some pictures in his mind, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. The power of these two words in Kia's place is really too great. Host, please don't be delusional. You are an expert, not a brick and mortar. I know. When the system reminded her, Kia was also embarrassed. However, do you need 2,000? In order to understand the runes on this huge stone tablet, is it really good to use 2,000 enhancement points to strengthen the archaeological ability? Kia was very confused. For strengthening points, Kia is very precious, and I don't want to waste it easily. Boy, you little Mao 2.8 child can't understand it. If you have nothing to do, hurry up and leave. Don't get in the way here. However, at this moment, Jean on the other side came again with a mocking sentence. These words immediately made Kia stiff, and the expression on his face disappeared instantly. Kia cast a glance at Jean and directly gave him a trash look. Then, System used 2,000 reinforcement points to enhance the subclass ability. Archaeology. Ding! Used 2,000 reinforcement points to enhance the subclass ability. Archaeology. Congratulations to the host for obtaining expert-level archaeological ability. In an instant, a lot of knowledge emerged in Kia's mind. All kinds of weird runes were constantly circulating in Kia's mind. Fonts, runes, and images of various civilizations were presented in Kia's mind one by one. Chapter 58, Reincarnation, Once in 1,000 Years. Hey, you little brat, what kind of look is that? Seeing Kia's look, Jin's face twitched wildly, and he was very angry. I kindly reminded him to let him not waste his time here, but this guy didn't appreciate it and kindly treated him like a donkey. Jean didn't intend to speak again, and after making a face at Kia, he started to study again. This kid is quite interesting. It is the first time he has seen such a strength in such a small urine. However, this big tree refers to the towering giant tree when it came down. So, what is reincarnation? Is this the real reason for the disappearance of this civilization from history? Yes, Jean was also able to read the runes and images on some of the monoliths. However, this guy only understands the words Dashu and Samsara. Others cannot be translated yet. It seems that my research on ancient texts is not enough. Why don't you go out and look for some ancient texts first? Maybe you can get clues related to this stele. Jean bowed his head in thought. At this moment, Kia's voice suddenly came from his ear, which made Jean a little annoyed. Just look at it. Why did 19 open his mouth? And the sound is so loud, I don't know if it will disturb other people's thinking. Just when Jean was about to say a few words to Kia, what came from his ears shocked Jean, and he looked at Kia in surprise. Boy, can you understand the writing on it? In a reincarnation once in 1,000 years, our Kokoli clan is about to suffer initiation. People who rely on the tree god to survive will be able to survive this initiation. Our Kokoli clan swears that we will never repeat the tree civilization. It will definitely open up a new era in the reincarnation of the millennium. This is what Kia said just now. although I don't know if it is correct, but there are indeed two words translated by myself. Jean had a doubt that Kia could understand the writing on the huge stone tablet. Regarding this, Kia curled her lips in disdain and gave Jean a disdainful look. Then he continued to translate the text on the huge stone tablet. Facing Kia's disdainful eyes, Jean was not only not angry, but excited, because, judging from Kia's performance, Kia should really be able to understand. Involuntarily, Jean walked towards Kia and listened closely to Kia's translation. "We were wrong. The reincarnation once in 1,000 years, with our strength, cannot bear it, and the civilization of Coco is about to be ruined in our hands. It is sad and deplorable. The power of nature is not something our generation can resist. No one can escape this once-in-1,000-year reincarnation. They will eventually perish in initiation and reborn in destruction. New civilizations will be rebuilt on the ruins, just like Coco. Udashu. What the hell, you have no brains." After reading the words on the huge stone tablet, Kia looked strange. This seems to be the voice of a person who is about to perish, and has no other meaning. It didn't get to the point at all. Kia pouted, disdainful. "No, let's not mention those irrelevant things for now, but some things have already touched on the main point." Standing beside Kia, Jean pinched his chin and retorted solemnly. From what Kia read out, Jin's amazing talent and love for archaeology allowed him to draw inferences from one instance and quickly understand the content on the giant stone tablet, thus confirming the authenticity of the content on the huge stone tablet. He can be sure that what Kia read out is 90% correct. "Are you talking about reincarnation once in 1,000 years? Kia clasped her hands behind her head and said boredly. "Well, I have gotten some clues about the Dashu civilization. It is an ancient civilization more than 2,000 years ago. However, it perished 2,000 years ago, and the ruins of Coco have also obtained the evidence of its demise during my exploration these days. Time, the Kekali ruins perished in 995. If the millennium reincarnation described here is true, what do you think will happen?" Jean looked at Kia and said with a light smile. 995? Kia was taken aback when he heard that. This time, if it is a reincarnation once 1,000 years, every 1,000 years there will be an irresistible disaster in the place where the Coco ruins are located, destroying the civilization built here. The time of this year is 1995, which is the period of the millennium. In other words, this Coco ruins will experience an irresistible and terrifying disaster this year, and this disaster can even destroy a brilliant civilization that has multiplied for thousands of years. Yes, it is 995 years, which is exactly 1,000 years away from us now. It's true. Even so, Kia still didn't believe it. I'd rather believe it than believe it. Since it's said above, some precautions must be taken. I think we should get out of here first. This place is so deep. If there's a real disaster, this place will definitely collapse, and the two of us will definitely be buried here alive. Jean suggested to Kia. Jean has completely let go of Kia's offense to him just now. The current Kia is a kindred spirit for Jean. The ability Kia has shown has been recognized by Jean. He stayed here for more than a month and only translated 4 ministers except 2 words. Kia translated all the content on the giant stone tablet as soon as he came. This guy has a very powerful talent in archaeology. I like to walk alone, but I am afraid of strangers on the one hand, and on the other hand, because no one can keep up with my progress in exploring the ruins and will become my burden. Jean wants to invite Kia to be his companion. The archaeological skills displayed by Kia are absolutely qualified to act with him. Maybe I'm not as good as Kia in archaeology. Well, it's okay. There is no other value here now, and it's useless to stay here any longer. Kia also agrees with Jin's proposal. Let's go then, Kim said. However, as soon as the voice fell, the entire cave began to vibrate, and countless huge stones fell from the sky, shaking the ground. Damn, high-yielding Sao, you crow's mouth. Looking at a stone that was more than 10 people's size falling from the top of his head, Kia breathed out his fragrance at Jean Zhong, and then quickly hid. And Jean, at this time, also looked embarrassed and kept dodging. "Ah, as expected, I expected it. Let's get out of here quickly," Zheng Jin said with a ha-ha, and then he quickly avoided the boulders that kept falling down with lightning speed and walked toward the place he pointed at just now. Place to go. Seeing this, Kia twitched her face and also followed. Chapter 59. The pulse of the tree. At the same time, on the surface of the Kekali ruins, the many hunters who entered here are all looking at the dozen or so huge pillars of fire not far away, with ugly faces. These extinct volcanoes actually erupted under a towering tree. A lady wearing a dancer's costume with 2 wings on her back was looking at the huge pillar of fire rising into the sky in amazement and lost her voice. Hunter Association 12 Earthly Branches Unitary Crook. Plant Hunter is also a musician and dancer, a proud and picky woman. This time she appeared here to study the giant tree behind her. This giant tree whose age cannot be estimated at all. In previous records, these volcanic groups are completely extinct volcanoes, and there has been no sign of volcanic eruption since these volcanic groups were discovered. The magma in the volcano is very mild. However, unexpectedly, it broke out at this time, and it broke out a row. Pieces of volcanic lava soared into the sky under the impact of the volcanic eruption, spread and landed in all directions, causing devastating damage to the entire Kekali ruins. Looking down from the sky, under the impact of countless volcanic lava and magma, the remains of Coco at this moment almost turned into a sea of flames at this moment. Fiery cremation burns everything up. Many hunters watched this scene, their eyes filled with anger and powerlessness. This is an ancient relic, and it was destroyed so easily, which made them very angry. But what followed was powerlessness. This is a natural disaster, and manpower can contend. They couldn't keep this human treasure from the eruption of extinct volcanoes. At the same time, the monsters hidden in the ruins of Coco, the animals also boiled at this moment, running fast, scrambling for their lives, and a huge wave of beasts quickly formed. Some hunters who didn't have time to take measures were impacted and trampled by the huge beast tide that suddenly formed, and lost their lives alive in this beast tide. It's really scary. The Kekali ruins are completely over. Standing on a branch as thick as the ground, Crook, the proud royal sister, couldn't help feeling sorry even if she wasn't the ruins hunter. However, these have nothing to do with me. Now, I'd better get out of here, and it will be troublesome if I go any further. Crook frowned slightly, and then he was about to jump from the height of tens of meters. However, before she moved, she frowned again, because she felt that the huge branch she was stepping on seemed to have moved just now. Crook squatted down gently, reached out and stroked the branches, but found nothing. Is it my illusion? Crook said to himself. Shaking his head, Crook was about to leave here. However, the next moment, Crook's eyes widened. Pulse. How is that possible? The hand she hadn't withdrawn actually felt the pulse on this branch. As a botanist, Crook's research on plants is very deep. She was sure that she didn't have hallucinations just now, but actually felt the pulse of humans or animals from the branches. In other words, this big tree is alive and conscious. Call out. There was a strange noise, and Crook hurriedly looked up, only to see a dozen pieces of lava flying towards her position. Crook stood up quickly, raised his whole body, and was about to use the skill to smash the magma. However, before she could make a move, a thick branch directly pulled towards the dozens of pieces of lava at an inconceivable angle above her head. With a series of explosions, more than a dozen pieces of magma were smashed under the blow of the branches, and gunpowder smoke filled the air. Crook stared blankly at this scene. Good. That's tough, Crook said in horror. But this sentence was preempted by a low voice. Wow, that's amazing. There were 2 more figures beside Crook at this time. Who is it? Crook shouted in shock, and at the same time jumped out behind him, watching the 2 figures warily. It's so fast, it suddenly appeared beside me, and I didn't notice it at all, Crook thought in shock. However, after seeing the appearance of the person coming, Crook's expression changed from shock to disgust. Why are you here? Crook said disgustedly. It was none other than Jean and Kia who escaped from the underground cave. This is a ruin. Is it a surprise that I appear here as a ruin hunter? Jean Wenyan raised his eyebrows, looked over, and looked at Crook like a fool. Jin's expression immediately aroused Crook's anger. "You really shouldn't exist in this world, you nasty guy." Crook growled at the golden fangs. This appearance made Kia, who was standing by the side, think of someone. Aquarius Aqua in Fairy Tale. The guy had pretty much the same expression when he yelled at his master Lucy. Facing Crook's roar, Jin was unusually calm. No, it should be said that this guy directly ignored Crook's roar. If you stir up other people's anger and then ignore it, your character is really bad. Ah, this ruin is hopeless. Jin looked at the ruins of Kekali that had been turned into a sea of flames and said in a regretful tone, "The few indeed." Facing Jin's ignorance, Crook's anger soared again. Fortunately, she had known Jin's character for a long time and knew how bad this guy was. So this anger came and went quickly. Directly ignored Jin's bad behavior. Speaking of which, who is this kid? Is it your follower? Having said this, Crook couldn't help looking at Kia, who hadn't spoken since he appeared, and asked strangely, "It's not a follower, it's a companion." Hearing Crook mention Kia, Jin looked over and said with a confident smile on his face, "FK off, who is your companion? Don't label it indiscriminately." Kia, who has been silent and observing the situation below, rolled his eyes and directly disrupted the situation. The confident smile on Jin's face suddenly froze. Seeing Jin deflated, Crook, who had a calm face, was taken aback for a moment, then slapped his thigh and laughed loudly. "Boy, it's the first time I've seen this guy deflate. Sister, I'm optimistic about you. Let him deflate a few more times." Laughing, Crook said to Kia. However, Kia completely ignored Wong Li's, her, still staring at the situation below. Now it was Kim's turn to gloat. "Haha, this kid doesn't even want to talk to you. Get out." Crook glanced at Jin and said angrily. But at this moment, Kia's whole body suddenly flashed with lightning, stepped into a state of super speed, and turned into a bolt of lightning and rushed down. "Hey kid, leave so soon. Wait for me." Seeing this scene, Jin became anxious and then jumped up, chasing after Kia. He can't let this kid run away. He still wants Kia to form a team with him. And above, when Crook saw Jin's furious look, his face showed surprise. Since she knew Jin, it was the first time she saw Jin being so caring about someone. After a slight silence, Crook glanced at the towering tree above his head and then chased in the direction where Jin left. Although I am very interested in this strange big tree, it is obviously not the time for research, so I have to leave here quickly. Chapter 60, Big Fire Gold. "Hey kids, say that I killed monsters indiscriminately. You are better than me." In the sea of fire, the figures of Kia and the three shuttled back and forth at an extremely fast speed, and Jin roared at Kia in displeasure. This guy said that he had killed too many monsters, but he was even crueler than himself when he killed monsters. Where they passed, not a single monster could survive. He saw with his own eyes that Kia slaughtered these monsters. Kia, who did this, actually came to blame him for killing monsters indiscriminately, which made Jin very angry. This means that only state officials are allowed to set fires, and the common people are not allowed to light them. Ah bah, this guy is not a state official, and I'm not a commoner. Facing Jin's roar, Kia completely ignored it. A dodge turned into lightning again, broke away from the two, and continued to search for the monster. This kid is so fast, he disappeared again. Seeing this scene, Jin was dumbfounded and then said angrily, "I said, Kim freaks, who is this kid? He has such terrifying power in such a small urine." Crook, who was on the road with Kim, asked, although killing the monsters here can't reflect Kia's strength. And Kia didn't use 133 hair on her, but she can tell that Kia's strength is very strong. At least she feels that she is definitely not Kia's opponent. This is her intuition. I don't know, this kid suddenly appeared by my side just now. Speaking of which, I don't seem to know the kid's name yet. Jin said belatedly. He only remembered now that he didn't even know his name after sharing Wheel and Woe together for so long. Thinking of this, Jin's mouth twitched again. Afterwards, Jin speeded up again and quickly chased in the direction Kia was flashing. When Crook heard this, he couldn't help but frowned. Good guy. Seeing this guy cares so much about that kid, I thought this guy knew him very well. but I didn't expect that he didn't even know his name and his hidden attributes are natural. It's disgusting. Immediately, Crook also accelerated, gained speed, and caught up. Hey kid, what's your name? Gene, this guy, quickly caught up with Kia, who was killing the fleeing monster, and asked Kia. Kia Zoldyck. Kia didn't hide anything and said directly. For others, Kia might not say it. After all, the Zoldyck family, as an assassination family, cannot disclose their own information at will. However, facing this guy, there's no such box. The character of this guy makes it impossible for the Zoldyck family to have any conflicts with this guy, and there is no need to conceal information. Furthermore, with Jin's authority on the Hunter website, he could easily find out his identity. The Zoldyck family? This sentence was not said by Jin, but by Crook, who caught up. Crook was shocked by Kia's identity. After all, the name of the Shadow Tree and the Zoldyck family as an assassination family made many people afraid. Even she is no exception. Moreover, embarrassing strength is still so strong. In comparison, Jin's expression didn't change at all, and he was completely unmoved by the name of the Zoldyck family, as if the name of the Zoldyck family was very common and nothing special. Kia, your archaeological ability is so strong. Do you want to form a team with me, and we will dig out all the ruins on this continent? Jin extended an invitation to Kia. No, I'm not interested in the ruins. Kia refused without mercy. This made Jin's face collapse. You're not interested in the ruins, so what are you driving here? Jin asked strangely. Didn't you see it? I came here, jab, to trouble these monsters. Kia caught up with a fleeing monster, killed it with one blow, and turned to Jin and said, slightly. As soon as these words came out, Jin suddenly became annoyed again. This guy, the purpose of coming here is to hunt monsters, and his purpose is to hunt monsters, and he accused me of killing monsters indiscriminately just now. It is really irritating. Kia, let's fight, Jin said to Kia with a straight face. Get out. Kia glanced at him and spit out a word that made Jin gnash his teeth in anger. On the other side, Menchie and others who are going to Backer's secret realm have already come out of Backer's secret realm at this time. With such a big commotion in the Cocoa ruins, they were in no mood to continue exploring in the Backer's secret realm. At this time, Menchie and others guarded a plane, blocking the tide of beasts rushing out of the ruins. In addition to Menchie, there's also the hunter with the Emperor stopping here. These hunters include professional hunters and unlicensed hunters. Most of the job hunters are gourmet hunters, relic hunters, esper hunters, and treasure hunters. There are dozens of unlicensed hunters. A soft music with a peculiar melody sounded from the flute of one of the Eudemon's hunter, soothing the restless hearts of the animals that came out of the ruins. These animals stopped their restless pace and walked slowly on the plain. However, even though they were appeased, these animals instinctively ran behind the hunters, wanting to stay away from the ruins. As for the monsters that rushed out, some mild-tempered monsters were soothed by the music, and they walked behind the hunters together with the animals. But there are still most of the anxious monsters who rushed out and started to attack the hunters blocking the way. The first line of defense on the plain was fiercely fought. To be able to become a professional hunter, most of their hearts can stand their scrutiny. These hunters know that behind this plain is the only city here. Once they are rushed out by these monsters, it will definitely cause damage to the entire city. Incalculable damage. So they tried their best to stop these monsters. The other unlicensed hunters are also members of the professional hunter team, so their personalities needless to say. Of course, there are also some hunters who are not so selfless. After coming out of the ruins, they just abandoned this place and left. On the whole plain, except for the hunter who used the flute to appease the animals and the phantom beasts in the hearts of the monsters, the rest of the hunters participated in the battle to block the steps of the monsters. Chapter 61. The Coming Naughty Old Man. Hey, the situation is not good. If this goes on, we can't stop these runaway monsters. The monsters that can survive in these ruins are basically very powerful. Most of the hunters present are non-star hunters, and none of them are very strong. There are only a few one-star hunters who are strong enough. With more and more monsters, these hunters are gradually unable to hold on. Some monsters have already broken through the blockade of the hunters and rushed out of the plain. This made the hunters present restless. Have you contacted Hunter for a while? Tell the Hunter Association to contact Tektronics officials and let them send troops over. Already contacted. The Domion people have already contacted the King of Tech, and the army has been sent over there. But it is far away from here, and it may take several hours to arrive here. How many hours? By the time they arrive, the day Lily will be cold. A grumpy hunter yelled angrily. Stop shouting. I heard that President Netero is rushing here. We will do our best. Is Chairman Netero coming too? Really, the president is coming too. Hearing that Netero, the president of the Hunter Association, was also coming, the hunters were extremely excited, and even their combat power was gradually increasing. Suddenly, the unstoppable trend of Warcraft was overwhelmed. Stopped. Hey, Minshi, that little friend of yours seems to have entered the ruins and hasn't come out yet. Aren't you worried? Bai Lu asked curiously while dealing with the monsters. Unlike others, Bai Lu's strength is still acceptable, and it is not very difficult to deal with a Warcraft. Kia? That guy doesn't need to worry at all. If he wants to run, the ruins can't stop him at all. He didn't show up, probably because of something. Hearing Bai Lu's words, Minshi was slightly taken aback, and then casually said with a wave of his hand. As for Kia, she wasn't worried at all. Kia is so fast that no one can stop her from leaving. Hey, are you so confident in that kid? Of course, Kia's speed is very fast. If you want to come out, you have already come out. Minshi nodded proudly. When the flat-chested Yuja heard the words, she couldn't help raising her eyebrows. Everyone, listen to me. My nun can stop this wave of beasts, but I don't have enough nun ki. Please transfer a nun ki to me. At this moment, the positive pot sounded softly on the battlefield. It was a middle-aged uncle with squinting eyes, and there was a purple cage in front of him at this moment. This cage tightly enveloped several monsters with different images. No matter how the monsters attacked, they couldn't break it. Seeing this scene, many hunters were very surprised. It was enough for them to deal with one monster, but this uncle could trap several powerful monsters in it with his own strength and could not break free. Everyone, as long as you give me enough thought energy, I can create a bigger one to surround the whole place. Seeing the eyes of everyone looking over, the middle-aged uncle said loudly again. Seeing the monster trapped in the cage by the middle-aged uncle, many hunters exchanged glances with their companions, and then issued their own powerful tricks to repel the opponent's monster, and came to the uncle's place as quickly as possible. Beside him, he put his hand on the uncle's body. Afterwards, one by one, they touched their bodies, and a steady stream of thoughts poured into the middle-aged uncle's body. The huge thought energy suddenly entered the body, and the middle-aged uncle suddenly became very red all over, and his entire face was congested with blood. A terrifying aura bloomed on him, and then a huge cage fanned out to the surroundings, blocking all the monsters in it. Even the animals were surrounded together, unable to take a step beyond. The Eudemon's hunter, who was playing the requiem, also stopped the flute in his hand and looked at the animals trapped in the cage with a flash of unbearable eyes. However, this unbearable feeling quickly disappeared. According to the current situation, this is indeed the best way. With the situation just now, if they continue, their line of defense will be breached by the monsters sooner or later. At this moment, the huge beast tide was finally stopped by the concerted efforts of many hunters. However, it is still unknown how long this line of defense can last. It can only depend on the amount of thought energy in these hunters. For this kind of large-scale cage, the amount of thought energy required is definitely not a small number. Behind the huge beast horde, raging fires dyed the entire earth red, and the sky was already pitch black and gloomy, completely covered by volcanic ash. This scene was like the end of the world. But when the hunters formed a defensive line to block the monsters, Kia's figure shuttled quickly among the ruins. Every shuttle will take away 1 or 2 monsters. This situation is very rare for Kia. As for flowers, because of the volcanic eruption, many monsters came out from hiding places, running for their lives. Didn't need Kia at all, but they searched slowly. Kia only needs to move outside along the sea of flames to see a large number of monsters. It has to be said that without the intervention of Jean, a high-yielding sow, there are really many monsters in the Cocoa ruins. Up to now, Kia has killed more than 100 of them. And these are just a drop in the bucket. More monsters have rushed out of the flames and rushed outside. Hey, Kia boy, it's almost done. We won't be able to get out of this sea of flames if we continue. Jean, who had been following Kia, persuaded. I said, High yield Sal, why have you been following me? In this case, don't you run for your life first. Is it interesting to follow me? Hearing Jin's persuasion again, Kia couldn't help but stop and asked helplessly, I'm not afraid of the fire because I have elemental skills, but this guy is not. After running with me for so long in the raging fire, even with the defense of mind energy at this time, he was already covered in sweat. If you keep going, you'll probably be dehydrated. As for Crook, this guy had already separated from the two of them and ran outside. I can't just leave you alone. Jean pouted and said, It is very rare for him Kim freaks to agree with a person. Since he agrees with a person, he will wholeheartedly treat him as a friend, a partner. Kia has been here and will not leave. He can't leave the prison Kia alone, right? Moreover, he still wants to draw Kia to form a team with him. Listening to Jin's words and seeing his sweaty appearance, Kia couldn't help being slightly touched. This guy really regards me as a companion? Immediately, Kia was a little confused. Jean, this guy, took it upon himself to treat himself as a companion. It's capricious. Kia couldn't help feeling a little headache. Others exude this level of kindness towards you, so you can't just turn a deaf ear to it. I know. Let's go out first. Kia sighed and gave up the plan to continue killing monsters here. Well, go outside and fight. Looking at this level of beast tide, it is estimated that many monsters have already rushed out of the flames. That's right. Let's go quickly. Jean grinned and said. The two jumped over the beast tide and rushed to be outside at an incredible speed. Chapter 62, Heavy Loss. This situation is not good. Min-Chi, who was in the queue, looked at the uncle at the front and frowned tightly. The middle-aged uncle at the front was paler and his lips were trembling. A look is a sign of overuse of capacity. More than half an hour has passed since the beginning. Even with the blessings of Nian Qi from many Nun people, the body of the middle-aged uncle can't support the endless use of abilities. In addition, the thoughts of other people are not one's own after all, and many different thoughts enter the body continuously, and the body will definitely reject it. This middle-aged uncle should be close to the limit. Sure enough, when Min-Chi's thoughts came here, the middle-aged uncle at the front smiled wryly and said sorry to everyone. Sorry, everyone, I can't take it anymore. The next moment, before everyone could react, the purple cage that firmly held the demon 727 beast and the animals collapsed completely at this moment, bursting open, and many hunters were thrown out under the impact. He fell heavily to the ground. At this moment, the beast tide surged out, rushing towards the direction beyond the plain, the continuous stream, and many hunters who fell on the ground could not react. Under the attack of the huge beast tide, they could only wrap their bodies with thoughts, passive defense up. However, the impact of this huge beast horde cannot be spared even if it is defended with Jian. Some newcomers were directly carried away by this wave. However, some hunters who had made some small achievements reacted as soon as they fell to the ground and quickly evaded. However, even so, the situation is not very good. The screens were directly covered by the huge, trampling sound, as if water drops fell into the sea, making no waves. The entire hunter team suffered heavy losses at this moment. Even some hunters have begun to regret it. If they knew that it would become like this, they would definitely ignore it and leave here directly. It won't become what it is now, and throw your life here at any time. Damn it, it's not good to continue like this. You'll be killed by this wave of beasts. Min-Chi, who looked embarrassed, was constantly dodging the monsters and animals rushing ahead. But no matter how fast Min-Chi was, it is also impossible to completely avoid all the impacts. From time to time, it would be impacted by animals or monsters. Although it was not knocked into the air, it suffered a lot of internal injuries under the impact of monsters and animals. If she continued, she was sure that she would be crushed to death, trampled, and smashed to pieces by this wave of beasts. As time went on, Min-Chi had begun to despair, because the thought energy in her body is almost exhausted. She probably only has one level of thought energy left now. At this moment, two voices suddenly sounded from Minchi's side. "I'll go. There are so many monsters outside. I would have come out if I had known. You should have come out a long time ago, and I don't need to be heated like that inside. I feel like I'm definitely seriously dehydrated now. How are you going to compensate me?" Minchi is very familiar with the first voice, but Minchi doesn't know the second voice at all. It's a very magnetic uncle's voice. "Kia." After recognizing the first voice, Minchi shouted in surprise, turned and looked in the direction of the voice. I saw that Kia appeared by his side at this time, holding his weapon, the kitchen knife, in his hand and throwing it there. Beside him is a slovenly uncle in trousers and a vest. Why is my knife with you?" Minchi suddenly noticed the kitchen knife in Kia's hand and immediately felt his back, only to find that the knife he hadn't used was gone. Kia unexpectedly took the knife from his lower back at some point. "Hey, brat, don't you know that women's waist can't be touched?" Minchi gave Kia a hard look and said, "Is now the time to worry about this?" I used the space ability to borrow the space mark imprinted on Minchi's kitchen knife to save her. I thought Minchi would thank me, but I didn't expect Minchi to think of it at the first time. It turned out to be this. Kia couldn't help being speechless after taking it. The woman's brain circuit is too clear. It's so troublesome. I don't have that kind of large-scale attack with this level of beast horde," Jean said with a tangled expression on the side of his head. At this time, the Minchi group discovered that something was wrong, because the area where the three of them are standing now has a radius of 10 meters, forming a vacuum circle. The impact of the monsters couldn't rush in at all, as if they were pushed away by some kind of force. And she found that the vacuum she was in was full of terrifying thoughts. This vacuum circle was opened by this terrifying thought energy, and the master of this thought energy is the sloppy uncle in front of him. "Hey, Kia, who is this? What a terrifying Yankee." Minchi asked Kia cautiously. This guy's name is Gene. Gene Freaks. He is a high-yielding sow. Don't worry about it." Kia waved his hand and said casually after hearing this. Gene on the side suddenly had several crossroads on his forehead. "This guy actually called me a high-yield sow again. So annoying, I really want to beat him. However, forget it. It is important to solve the current situation first." But Kia said so lightly. Minchi, who heard Jin's name, couldn't calm down and almost screamed. However, when the mouth opened wide, it touched the wound, and it hurt so much that it directly sucked in cold air. "Stop talking about this. Kia, use your nun to heal me first." Minchi put his hand on Kia's shoulder, begging Kia. "Oh, you still have none for treatment?" Jean asked unexpectedly. Hearing this, Kia looked at Jean strangely. This guy didn't know what expression he would have when he saw the breath of the Archangel. Thinking of this, Kia began to use it on Menki. Sure enough, Jin's expression was quite interesting. The mouth was opened so wide that it could almost stuff an apple. "Where did your kid get this ability?" After being surprised, Jean asked solemnly. "Let's talk about this later. Let's solve the situation here first." As agreed before, I will take action to solve the situation here, 200 billion or 2.2 NI, not 1 point less. After Minchi's injury was cured, Kia did not explain, but confirmed to Jean. "If you can solve it, I will offer you the 200 billion precepts respectfully." Jean Wenyin said with a smile, without continuing to ask. "Oh, what you said, if you don't show respect, I'll settle the score with you as soon as possible." Kia squinted her eyes and said, "I said so." Jean pouted and replied, "Then, Uncle, remember to behave more realistically later." Kia grinned at Jean, showing a mouthful of white teeth. Afterwards, Kia turned into a flash of lightning and rushed out of the vacuum circle. This kid really has a way to deal with this beast tide, right? Seeing Kia's reaction, the corners of Jin's eyes twitched slightly, and he muttered silently. Boom! The next moment, the dark plane was suddenly illuminated by a ray of light. Kim opened his mouth a second time. Chapter 63. Sincerely benefiting 100 million precepts, a faint blue lightning flashed across, and the animal tide, under the impact, stagnated for a moment, and then dense branches of lightning spread out around Kia. In just 2 minutes, All the monsters and animals on the entire battlefield fell to the ground one after another. Although they didn't die, they couldn't get up, and they fell on the ground and twitched nonstop. Of course, many hunters also got hit together, twitching constantly on the ground, with thunder and lightning on their bodies from time to time. Look, it's very convenient. Kia turned and said to Jean with raised eyebrows. His face twitched slightly. It was as simple as that. Is this kid's lightning power so powerful? If it's just an ordinary animal, it's fine. Even Warcraft and naughty ones have been electrocuted. Moreover, the scope covers such a wide range. This kid had a lot of energy. Range attack. This is Kia's strong point. Kia's thunder is most suitable for range attacks, and it is an excellent weapon for output in team battles. As long as the thunder is spread out, even if you can't seriously injure people, you can knock down the enemy and paralyze them, unable to move 19. Then, high-yield Sao, present the 200 billion ring nuns to this young master respectfully. Kia slowly came to Jin's front, raised her chin slightly, and said calmly, "If you look carefully, you can see that there's a faint smile on the corner of Kia's mouth at this moment." The corner of Jin's mouth twitched, feeling a little regretful in his heart. Although he recognized Kia, but he really couldn't do it if he respectfully presented Kia with 200 billion ordinances. He never thought that Kia could solve this kind of situation. After all, this beast horde is a bit too big. Even he couldn't solve it. Although he is powerful, he does not have a large range of attacks. However, I didn't expect Kia to be able to solve it. Although it only stunned the monsters and did not kill them, it was still resolved. But if you don't keep your promise, then the matter of wanting Kia to form a team with you in the future will definitely be blown. Just when Jean was in a dilemma, Crook, who was separated from Kia and Jean just now, came here at some point. Jean freaks, you also have this day, you really deserve it. The arrogant Yujia who didn't know when she came here gloated at Jin's misfortune then. Crook looked at Kia. Thanks, Kia Zoldyck. I owe you a favor. If you need any help in the future, you can find me. This is my contact information. Crook said, pulling out a business card from his chest and handing it to Kia. Seeing this, Kia raised her eyebrows slightly, and after pondering for 2 seconds, she was about to reach out to take it. Sudden favors are not in vain. However, Kia didn't succeed because Minchi took the first step to take the business card from Crook's hand. I took over this contact information on behalf of Kia. Minchi stood between the two and said to Crook with squinted eyes. Seeing this, Crook frowned slightly, and after giving the two meaningful glances, Crook said to Kia, Boy, your luck is really good. You have already been targeted by someone for such a small urine. Be careful of being eaten young grass." As soon as these words came out, Minchi was stunned for a moment, and then his face turned red at an incredible speed. "None of your business, bah." Blushing, Minchi shouted angrily, "What did you say?" Crook's face froze suddenly, and he said in a somewhat blunt tone. Immediately afterwards, the two quarreled as if no one was there. Kia and Jean, who were watching from the side, were dumbfounded. "Hey, why are the two of them arguing all of a sudden?" Jean asked Kia in a low voice. Being ridiculed by Crook, Jean was going to quarrel with Crook to avoid Kia's matter, but Minchi got ahead of him. "I don't know." Kia rolled his eyes and said, "How'd she know how these two guys started arguing? Women's affairs are really troublesome, and they don't understand." "Well, Kia, I saw that you treated Minchi just now. Can you treat me as well?" At this moment, several companions of Minchi came to Kia with each other's support and asked Kia. Kia frowned, then stretched out her hand. "Sincerely benefit 100 million nuns." Several people were stunned for a moment. Then he reacted, nodded again and again, and the airport lady said, "No problem, but we can't transfer it now, and I will transfer it to you after returning to Kashak City. Can I?" Their mobile phones have been damaged in the battle just now, and now they have no ability to transfer money at all. "No problem. I'll give you the account number, and you can just transfer it to me later. Of course, you can play tricks too, as long as you can bear the consequences," Kia said with a smile. However, these words were extremely terrifying to the ears of Bai Lu and the others, and the immature, smiling faces were like a wave mask. They dare not play tricks. They saw Kia's eruption just now, and they solved the beast tide that they had worked hard for more than an hour in just 2 minutes, and they were saved by Kia's eruption. If Kia hadn't erupted just now, then they were not seriously injured, but were smashed to pieces by the beast tide. 880 their none is not even as good as Menchi. Soon, because of the breath of the angel, he appeared again on this battlefield. The archangel behind Ki, it just let the four of them fully recover with a simple breath, without any injuries at all. Seeing their fully recovered bodies, several people couldn't help thanking Kia repeatedly. The other hunters on the battlefield who had recovered from their paralysis saw this scene and walked towards Kia one after another. Kia's business opened on the battlefield. Jean on the side watched the archangel constantly exhaling the breath of life, with a tangled expression on his face. How did this guy, Kia, breath the archangel in the island agreed? He wanted to ask, but he was afraid that Kia would remember what happened just now, so he would respectfully present the 200 billion ordinance. So he simply didn't ask. Remember the account number that Kia reported just now? Directly open his Teshu account with his mobile phone and directly transfer 200 billion ringtones to Kia's account at one time. The next thing is very simple. The 200 billion precepts have already been transferred by myself, so I can't let myself transfer again. Well, he Kim Freaks is such an above-board cheat. Who told you that you were doing business when I transfer the money? I have already transferred it respectfully. You didn't see it yourself. It's not my fault. Chapter 64. The boss realm is incomparable. Gathering wool from many hunters is also receiving gratitude from many hunters. Key said that this feeling is really good. However, in general, this is not considered wool. After all, the breath of his own archangel indeed healed their wounds. I just need to pay a little thought. The breathing ability of the archangel is very strong, but it doesn't need to consume too much mind energy to use it. Moreover, I did save their lives in the beast tide just now, so it is not surprising that they are grateful to me. SAE, let's cook these monsters now. After finishing the business, Ki set his sights on the monsters all over the floor. The circle spread out, and Kia's figure began to run across the plain. Ordinary animals, Ki will not move, but Ki will not let go of any of these magical beasts. The wild goose has plucked its hair, but it has been set to leave its skin. Wherever Kia's figure appeared, there would be thunder and lightning flashes, and monsters lost their lives in Kia's hands. In Hunter, several Eudemons Hunter looked a little bit unbearable when they saw this scene, but they didn't stand up and say anything. First, doing so is indeed the best and fastest way to solve the current situation, because with the passage of time, these monsters will definitely recover, and they will not be able to deal with them by then. Although they were cured by Kia, they didn't have much Nianki left. Some hunters thought energy has been exhausted at this time, and there is no one who can't recover in 2 or 3 days. Second, they were all rescued by Kia just now, so they are not qualified to dictate to Kia. Didn't those who point fingers at Kia specifically leave a bad impression in Kia's heart? Facing such a nun master, they have no grievances or enmity, and they're kind to them. They are stupid to do this. This guy said that I killed monsters indiscriminately, and I killed the most fun. This guy Jean is still brooding about this matter. However, he only said one sentence. Turning his head and glanced at the 2 women who were arguing, Jean twitched the corner of his mouth, sighed that women are not easy to mess with, and then ignored the sloppy, sat down on the ground, sitting cross-legged and looking at Kiyuan on the plain. Ya's figure became deep in thought. How can I persuade this kid to form a team with me? It's a pity that Kia's ancient writing skills are not used on the ruins. Jean could feel that Ki was really not interested in the relics. Just now Ki was touched by his persistent behavior, so he gave himself a chance to persuade. Now it's up to me to see if I have the ability to persuade him. However, he doesn't know anything about Kia now, and he doesn't know how to persuade Kia. Tell Kia about your love for relics and various interests in exploring relics? Come on, Kia is not interested in the ruins at all. The purpose of coming to the ruins this time is to kill monsters. At this moment, there was a huge roar and trampling sound. I saw that at the exit of the ruins that had been calm at first, a mighty beast tide had appeared again at this time. Although not as big as before, the scale is not small. Moreover, all monsters appeared this time, not a single animal. They are all monsters that seem to be very difficult to mess with. Many hunters panicked when they saw the reappearance of the beast horde. The problem here has not been resolved, and now it has appeared again, and all the monsters. How to experience it? Escape? Their gazes involuntarily set on the paralyzed monsters on the ground. I hope Kia can stand up and stop these monsters. However, Kia turned a deaf ear to these gazes, remained unmoved by the monsters that appeared at the entrance of the ruins, and continued to clean up the monsters on the plain. However, although Kia did not respond to these hunters' expectations, she did speak a word. "Hey, high-yielding sow, it's your turn to help me stop those monsters. Remember to stop it, and I will do it later." Hearing Kia's yell, Gene gave up thinking, flashed his figure, and rushed towards the beast tide. He can't do anything about the lineup just now, because there are other people, but he can still solve these things. I saw Jin's figure appearing in front of the beast tide. His right foot was raised high, and the surrounding space began to distort due to the terrifying thought energy gathering. And then he slammed on the ground suddenly. Crack the ground! Boom! With a loud noise, a huge crack across the plain formed under Jin's feet, directly separating the plain from the ruins. The beast tide immediately lost its way forward and stopped involuntarily. However, the rapid gallop prevented many monsters from stopping in time, and they fell into the crack one after another. The remaining monsters roared at Gene on the opposite side of the crack. On the other side of the plain, a huge shock hit, and many hunters accidentally sat down on the ground under the shock, watching this scene with stupefied faces. Cheat life. Split the ground with one kick. Who is this uncle boy? Another giant. This guy Gene is stronger. Minchi and Crook, who were arguing, also stopped their quarrel, and Crook looked at Gene standing in front of the crack and twitched slightly. He knew that Gene was very powerful, but he never thought that Gene could split the earth with one kick. Thought, nice, high-yield sows, that's it. Wait for me to take care of them. Kia, who was dealing with the beast, couldn't help giving Gene a thumbs up when he saw this scene. In response, Gene gritted his teeth and gestured a middle finger to Kia with a nasty expression, then jumped up, swept across the huge crack, and rushed into the group of monsters. Boom! As the approaching sound submerged into the group of monsters, a huge movement came, and the monsters in the group of monsters kept flying into the sky, and screams of screams came from the group of monsters. Seeing Jin's behavior, Kia suddenly uttered the name of a certain plant silently. The hunters on the plain were stunned when they saw this scene, and anyone with a discerning eye could see that not only was Gene not injured when he rushed into the group of monsters, but he mowed the monsters with Wuxuan. I'm going. I didn't expect that there is another big boss hidden here. Break into the group of monsters alone and be unparalleled to the monsters. Giant, stinky high-yielding sow, wait for me. At this moment, Kia also cleaned up the monsters on the plain and turned into Li Qianho, a thunderbolt, and submerged into the group of monsters. Immediately, the already boiling group of monsters became more intense. In less than 5 minutes, the last monster completely ended under Kia's lightning. However, although the beast tide ended, another fight started Kia and Jin's frame. UBD, I told you to keep it from me. You've been deaf to my words. Why should I listen to you, Brad? I'm going to do it, hide and hide. Stinky boy, I see that you used such a huge mind energy just now, and you are not happy to share it for you. Thank me quickly. I can clean up all these monsters by myself, and I don't need you at all. On the opposite side of the plain, a group of hunters looked at the two people who were arguing fiercely with complex expressions. Is this the boss? The animal hordes of that level were not taken seriously at all, and even quarreled for the chance to make a move. This kind of realm is incomparable. Chapter 65. The arrived old man, just when Kia and Gene quarreled, and many hunters lamented that their own realms could not be compared, the earth shook again, and then there was a loud noise that shook the sky and earth in the ruins of Coco. In the eyes of everyone, the gray sky of the Kekali ruins once again appeared in an orange-red color, and countless lavas were launched from the volcanoes again, falling to the surroundings and once again destroying the Kekali ruins. Seeing this, Hunter couldn't help feeling a sense of sadness. This level of volcanic eruption, the Kekali ruins near the volcanic group are the first to bear the brunt, There is no possibility of preservation, and the ruins of civilization more than 1,000 years ago have been destroyed here. These ruins hunters can only watch here. They can't do anything. The mighty power of nature is not something they can resist. According to this level of eruption, it is estimated that it will not stop in a few months, and I don't know if this crack can stop the lava flowing out of these volcanic eruptions. At this time, Kia and Jean, also no longer arguing, Jean Band squatted down, looked at the huge 620 crack that he had split open, and said lightly, "You still thought about this aspect when you made the move." Kia listened to Jin's words and also admired slightly. He didn't think about it at all. He didn't expect Jean to make this crack and think about it. These are matters that tech should take care of. There's no need. Kia shrugged and said, "Besides, there are people from V5 to handle things here." "That's what you said, but since you have encountered it, let's contribute." Jean nodded and said, "Hey, look what that is." At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded, and I saw a hunter pointing to the inside of the Cocoa ruins with a look of shock. Everyone's eyes couldn't help looking in the direction he pointed. In the Kekali ruins, the towering tree standing in the center of the ruins is waving its thick branches at this moment, smashing the lava falling from the sky into pieces. In this eruption, the lava could not fall from the sky at all and was completely blocked by these branches. Bife, seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. They all know this towering tree, which has been standing in the center of the Kekali ruins. It is not that they have not studied this towering tree, but they have not researched anything. The only thing I know is that this big tree is very vigorous, at least 100 or even hundreds of years old, and I didn't expect it to act. Is it a tree monster? Some of you demons, Hunter silently guessed. This is also understandable. It is recorded on the huge stone tablet that the sentence of relying on the tree god said that this tree already had wisdom thousands of years ago. The civilization built here should be inspired by this tree god. Sheltered. It seems to be true, but it is not omnipotent. Otherwise, the civilization established here would not reincarnate once every 1,000 years. Kia nodded in agreement. Kia is not stupid. After reading the content on the huge stone tablet, he naturally deduced some history related to this big tree based on these content. Although it can crush the lava, this big tree should not be able to deal with the magma on the ground. Jean nodded and continued. "What are you talking about?" Crook jumped over from the crack, wondering. As a plant hunter, Crook is very concerned about the towering trees in the Kekali ruins. "Oh, nothing." Kim glanced at her, not going to tell her about the contents of the monolith. "Huh." Crook frowned slightly, knowing that Jean was hiding something, but he had no intention of continuing to ask. However, Jean didn't want to say it, but Kia didn't have this thought. For Kia, it's not a big deal to talk about this kind of thing. Isn't the history of exploring the ruins and developing the ruins just to expose everything about the ruins to the eyes of the world? There will be no less meat when you say it. If that's what the power of nature in the monument is talking about, tell me, how did this big tree survive? Kia said slightly curiously. Fire is the natural nemesis of trees. A single spark can start a prairie fire. Even a small spark can burn a grassland or a forest. Although the towering trees are strange, they're still in the range of trees. This is indeed something worthy of attention. Why don't we go in and explore? Jean rubbed his chin, pondered for a moment, and said to Kia. Hearing this, Kia rolled her eyes at him and opened her eyes mercilessly. The volcano erupted, and you still ran in there. Aren't you stupid? However, although he was angry with Jean, Kia started to think in his heart. Kia is also interested in the big tree in the Kekali ruins. Not surprisingly, this big tree should be more than 1,000 years old. No, not even 2,000 years old. After the volcanic eruption, see if the tree can survive. If it survives, find a chance to go in and study it. You're stupid, Kim retorted. I just want to take this opportunity to see if I can make Kia interested in the ruins because of this big tree. It has to be said that in order to get Kia to form a team with him, Jean would not let go of any opportunity. The conversation between the two made Crook on the side hear the mist coming and going, blurred, but his heart was itchy and uncomfortable. I am very interested in the content of the conversation between the two. Kia, what is the giant stone monument you are talking about? What is the power of nature? Jean couldn't ask, so Crook ran to Kia and asked. A huge stone tablet under the ruins records the truth about the demise of the Kekali ruins. Kia said directly without hiding anything. Why did you tell her this? She's not an expert in this field, and it's useless to know. Jean, an uncle with a very bad personality in some aspects, was talking nonsense as soon as he opened his mouth, which directly aroused Crook's glaring. Just when Crook was about to quarrel with Jean, a buzzing sound rang out from the heads of the crowd. Everyone couldn't help but looked up and saw an airship with the logo of the Hunter Association slowly flying over from a distance. Soon it stopped on top of everyone's heads. Immediately afterwards, several figures descended from the sky. Chapter 66. Netero, who was cheated. Jean with a bad personality, is this old man here too? Looking at Netero, who was wearing clogs and leading two people slowly towards a crack, Kia was slightly surprised. Although volcanic eruptions and beast hordes are coming, there is no need for the president of the Hunter Association to come here. Not to that extent. However, thinking of this guy's personality, Kia felt that it was a bit natural for this guy to appear here. The old man was restless. In the original book, whether it is the second experiment in the Hunter experiment or playing games with J freaks on the airship, it shows the old guy's boredom and his age-appropriate naughty heart. Because it's not too surprising that this happened here. Of course, this is just Kia's opinion. After all, Kia understands this old man's character. In the eyes of others, it's completely different. Many hunters present at this time were shocked after seeing Netero's appearance. After the shock, they greeted Netero one after another. Netero also nodded to the crowd as he walked. Soon, Netero brought the two people around him to the crack, jumped across the crack, and came to Jean. The two people beside him also followed. They were all tall, muscular guys. Kia recognized the identities of the two at a glance, the second of the 12 earthly branches of the Hunter Association. Chun, Potter White Gigani. Not Inda, 3-star terrorist hunter and poaching hunter respectively. I didn't expect to gather 4 members of the 12 earthly branches here. Crook said something strange. Then she turned to Netero and greeted respectfully. Greetings from Jushu, President. Yeah, Crook, you're here too. Also, Jean is also unexpectedly able to meet you who can't see the end of the dragon. Netero nodded and said hello to Crook and Crook respectively. Then his eyes fell on Kia. Being able to stand with Jean and Crook, Kia is definitely not a simple character. And even if you don't look at this aspect, Kia's incomparably solid spirit still shocked Netero extremely. It's amazing to have such strength at such a young age. The eyes of the other two also moved away from Jean and Crook, and after seeing Kia, their expressions were extremely solemn. Obviously, they were also shocked by Kia. Kia's age is definitely in line with his height and appearance, not like that guy by CG in the association. Such a PS has such strength. They have never seen it before. Haha. How about it? This is my recognized companion. As for the identity, the old man, you should be familiar with him. His surname is Zoldyck. Jean laughed and introduced to Netero with a proud expression on his face. As soon as these words came out, everyone present was startled. From Zoldyck's family? Silver duh. The poacher hunter's face didn't change much, while Potterby, the terrorist hunter's face turned slightly ugly after hearing Kia's surname. Broadly speaking, the killer is also a terrorist, which is also within the scope of his profession. Hey, from a Zoldyck family. This silver hair is indeed in line with the Zoldyck family's heritage. I didn't expect that guy Maha to have such an outstanding junior. It's really gratifying. On the other hand, Netero, after hearing Kia's surname, not only didn't have a bad face, but on the contrary, he was excited. Netero stroked his beard, said excitedly, and looked at Kia with interested eyes shining. Old man, don't look at me with such eyes. My orientation is normal. Facing Netero's burning eyes, Kia said expressionlessly. Netero's expression froze immediately. And then he said helplessly, it's really not cute, just like your grandpa. Hearing this, Kia rolled her eyes. Since you belong to Zoldyck, do you want to accept the mission? Netero scratched his shiny forehead and said suddenly, What task? How much is the reward? Kia's eyes lit up when he heard the words, and he said with interest, "It's really interesting that this old man will do the task as soon as we meet. On the way here, I saw a lot of monsters leaving here. They seem to have gone to the nearby city of Salia. Let's wipe out all these monsters. How about 5 billion rings? If possible, I'll log into your Zoldyck family's website now and issue a mission." Netero took out a mobile phone from his pocket and shook it. Hearing this, Kia's expression became slightly strange. Even Jin's face was a little weird. "Double, 10 billion. I'll take it." Kia gave Netero a weird look and then said, "Well, 10 billion? Okay, let's make a deal. Old man, I will start the task now." Netero stroked his beard and pondered for a moment after hearing this, and then agreed. After speaking, he started to operate the mobile phone, entered the Zoldyck family's website, and started to issue tasks with ease. Judging from this posture, the old man frequently assigned tasks on the Zoldyck family website. The corners of Kia's mouth twitched. As the president of the Hunter Association, what the hell is it to regularly post missions on the Zoldyck family website? Okay, it's done. You can take over the task. Soon, Netero finished the operation and said to Kia. Kia didn't answer, but opened the family website with her mobile phone and soon saw the task of Isaac Netero, checked it, and took it directly after checking it. Ask for flowers. Okay, the task has been accepted. I will complete it, but I am curious. There are several masters here, and there are so many hunters over there. Why do you still have to issue a task? Let them go after it? Kia was very puzzled. 4 of the 12 earthly branches are here. With their abilities, those monsters that escaped should be able to clean up easily. Why bother to make a fuss and assign tasks to myself? So much money wasted in vain, and money is not spent like this. Tell me this, they all have special missions. As for those over there, do you think they can deal with monsters in their current situation? Netero stroked his beard and smiled. Kia heard the words, looked at a few people, and then looked at the opposite person, seeing the extremely weak thoughts on their bodies, nodded in agreement. These guys are unreliable. Understood. Well, I'm going to perform the task now, then bye. Kia said to Netero, and then prepare to leave here in a flash. Wait, Kia, give me your contact information. Jean stopped Kia and asked Kia for the contact information. Kia also gave it readily, and then quickly left. Hey, it's the first time I've seen you ask someone else for your contact information, Jean. Although this kid is very powerful, he doesn't have to be worth it, right? Is there anything special about it? Netero rolled his eyes slightly. Liang said curiously. Didn't I just say that? This kid is my recognized companion. Jean turned his head, smiled, and said, "Oh, by the way, old man Netero, the purpose of Kia's coming here is to find and kill monsters." Jean suddenly thought of something and said with a strange expression. Hearing this, Netero was taken aback for a moment, then realized that he almost slapped his beard off. Then, boy, the purpose of coming here is to kill monsters? Netero asked, slightly confused. Yes, so you don't have to issue missions to him just now. Even if there are no missions, that kid will not let those escaped monsters go. Jean bared his teeth and smiled wickedly. Then why didn't you say earlier, kid, and wasted the old man's 10 billion ordinances? Being tricked by Jean, Netero suddenly had a toothache and the corners of his eyes twitched. Hey, I don't have any loss if you're cheated, but I will be very happy to see you being cheated. Jean he smiled and said gloatingly, I know that you are not welcome in the 12 earthly branches. Such a bad character. Netero scratched his forehead and said very depressed. Okay, let's not talk about this. Tell the old man what happened here. Chapter 67. The people who entered the ruins Kiya dodged and left here, and Minchi also followed after seeing this. As for several of her teammates, they followed suit, and Netero and others, after communicating in front of the crack for more than 10 minutes, for some unknown reason, they all entered the Cocoa ruins, and only Crook remained. With the order of Netero, the hunter who stayed here was organized and began to tidy up the battlefield and wait for the arrival of the military power of the Tech Kingdom to launch military defense here. Naturally, Kia didn't know about this. At this time, Kia has already begun to harvest the monsters that left the plane. However, most of the people who left the plane were animals, and there were quite a few monsters. But Minchi, why are you following me? Kia wondered while running, looking at 703 who had been following her all the time. There is no guarantee that there will be another eruption at the ruins, and it is very dangerous to stay there. Hey, the mind energy in us is almost exhausted again. It's better to be by your side at this time. Otherwise, it will be very troublesome. Minchi laughed. Minchi's companions on the side nodded as quickly as a chicken pecking at rice. Follow if you want. Kia shrugged, said indifferently, and then accelerated the speed again. On the way from the ruins to Salia, none of the monsters could escape Kia's clutches, and Kia's strengthening point started to move again. Originally, there were only more than 6,000 enhancement points. After hunting in the ruins and the outbreak of the plane, plus the current pursuit, Kia's enhancement points are close to 15,000. It is estimated that the complete extermination of all the escaped monsters can reach about 16,000. Hey, Kia, what happened in the ruins? I remember those volcanic groups are extinct volcanoes. The professional hunter in this area has been specially surveyed, and it is impossible to erupt. Minchi asked, I don't know. Kia shook his head, expressing that he didn't know either. All I know is the content of the Millennium Reincarnation on the giant stone tablet. But since a special hunter has surveyed it, it should be a real extinct volcano. Why did it erupt? Kia is also very puzzled. At the same time, when Minchi mentioned this, the previous question appeared in Kia's mind. Why did Netero come here specially? And he also brought 212 earthly branches with him. You know, that Potterby is a 3-star hunter whose strength is recognized to be close to Netero. And another Inda is also strong, with a score of 90 points in Hisoka's score. Netero plus these two, this kind of lineup is very strong, and they definitely have their purpose in arriving here. When Minchi mentioned this, Kia guessed that the purpose of Netero's coming here is very likely to be related to the volcano group. However, what does this have to do with me? Kia shrugged and said with a light smile. The purpose of his coming here is to kill the monsters in the ruins to obtain strengthening points. Now, the monsters in the ruins are probably killed by him, so there is no need to stay here any longer. Moreover, Jean, the sloppy uncle, seemed to insist on letting himself form a team with him. While Jean is held back by Netero, it is better to complete the tasks issued by Netero early and leave here after finishing the reward. Let me be a killer to explore the ruins with you. Are you kidding me? What are you talking about? Kia's words made Minchi confused. No, nothing. Kia shook his head without any intention of explaining. Then he accelerated his speed again. Minchi and others looked at the flashing lightning on Kia's body, and the corners of their mouths twitched slightly. How can you let us follow you like this? On the other side, in the ruins of Koko, at this moment, Netero, Jean, and others were running quickly towards the direction of the volcano group. I said, Old man, you just came here without preparing anything. What are you going to do with the lava all over the floor? Jean teased Netero while running. Do you want to swim in lava? How is it possible? We are prepared to come here. Netero laughed and said, Inda, it's up to you. Afterwards, Netero looked at Inda, who looked a little dazed beside him, and said, Understood, President. Inda replied blankly. Then he put his left hand on the end and suddenly blew a whistle that resounded through the ruins. The loud whistle is very obvious even in this series of roaring explosions, echoing in the ruins. Hush, look at the situation. There is a helper in this ruin. Inda's action made Jean Lian startled, and then said with a faint smile, I've been here before, and I have reached an agreement with the patron saint here, and he will assist us. Inda said with a silly smile. Patron saint, can it be? Jean heard the words, his smile moved slightly, and he guessed something. The next moment, a few huge branches fell from the sky, landed in front of them, rolled them up from the ground, and landed on the thick branches. Hee, Inda, I didn't expect you to have such ability. Inda underestimated you. Jean said with a meaningful look at Inda. Jean and the others were in midair at this time, and at their feet were the branches of the towering trees in the Kekali ruins. Jean originally thought that Inda's whistling was calling for helpers here, but he didn't expect to call the patron saint of the Koko ruins. However, old man, you hit it deep enough, and you didn't say this kind of thing until now. Jean Weiwei glanced at Netero and said 1.6. Ho ho, I didn't believe it at first, but I didn't expect it to be true. Netero stroked his chin and smiled slyly like an old fox. People can't believe his words at all. Okay, don't gossip. Get ready. We'll be here soon. Immediately, Netaro's face became serious, and he told the three of them. At the moment when Netaro's voice fell, several people had been sent to the center of the volcano group by huge branches. Jean looked at Netero, secretly said to the old fox, and then looked down. After seeing the scene below, Jin's face gradually became serious. This amount is too much if you don't handle it well. Chapter 68: Huge Lava and Lava Titan in Jin's eyes. The volcanoes in his field of vision were very mild, with no signs of eruption at all. However, each volcano has a huge lava on its outlet edge. Red magma gushes out of these lavas every once in a while, turning into lava titans with a height of more than 3 meters. As soon as the lava titans appear, they wave their huge arms transformed from magma and roar to the sky. It's like celebrating your own birth. Every time these lava titans wave, the originally mild volcano group will erupt once, and countless lavas will soar into the sky. This situation is clear at a glance. Obviously, the eruption of the volcanic group this time is caused by the existence of these lava titans. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I really couldn't believe it. There is such a legendary creature in this world. The nature is really amazing. Seeing a lava titan born from the lava, I was shocked. He had only seen this kind of thing in those storybooks when he was a child. Nature is always mysterious. It's normal for what kind of races will be born. 19. Existence is reasonable, isn't it? Netero, on the other hand, looked very calm when he saw these lava titans, and said with a smile, "Indeed, the mystery of nature is beyond our comprehension." Jean nodded and said in agreement. For Jean, who has been tossing around various relics, he is the most clear about the power of nature, and he will not be too surprised or difficult to accept what happens. President, what should we do with these volcanoes? According to the current situation, if these lava titans continue to rage, I'm afraid that the entire Take country will suffer. Maybe it will even threaten other countries or the world. Potter's Day asked Netero. Every time these lava titans appear, they will cause terrible eruptions in the volcano group. Now, there are only a few dozen lava titans below, and the volcanoes have erupted to such an extent that the entire Kekali ruins are on the verge of destruction. If it continues, it will definitely threaten the entire country of Take and then the entire world. Although some alarmist talk, but according to this situation, if it is not stopped, there is definitely this possibility. Well, that's right. Destroy the huge lava coming out of the crater. Those are the source. Without that, the lava titan would not be born. Netero stroked his beard, lightly nodded in agreement. They're here to fix this problem. Let's do it. Netero shouted first, and then jumped down. A golden Buddha figure with hundreds of arms quickly formed. Netero slowly made a prayer movement, and the next moment, the huge golden arm suddenly blasted out and landed on the huge lava below. The first form of Avalokitesvara boom. Accompanied by a loud noise, the huge lava was split apart under the attack of the golden arm's hand knife, turned into countless fragments, and shot out in all directions. This immediately inspired the lava titans born from the huge lava, roaring and attacking the Netero in midair. Under the control of these lava titans, the overwhelming lava turned into nets, covering Netero with a bang. Facing the attack that seemed to have nowhere to escape, Netero looked indifferent and put his hands together in a prayer gesture again, slowly closing them together. The 18th form of Avalokitesvara, the densely packed arms swept out in all directions, and under the densely packed attack, the dense net formed by the magma shattered in less than 2 seconds, turning into bits of magma that fell powerlessly into the magma below, flowing slowly. Not only that, as the giant lava net was shattered, the attack of Netero's 100-style Guanyin also crashed down on the lava titan below. Under the terrifying power, the lava titan of this volcanic group didn't even have the ability to resist, so it was smashed into pieces by countless golden Buddha's palms and melted into the flowing lava. Afterwards, Netero quickly controlled Baishur Guanyin and flew towards another volcano. The three of Jean watched Netero show off his might, and after looking at each other in blank dismay, they each started to act. I saw Jean jumping up, and under the force of terror, Jean shot out like a cannonball into the volcano next door. After 2 seconds, the sonic boom cloud appeared in front of Jean before he knew it, standing on a branch. But Potterby and Inda were not as free and easy as Jean. Don't want to die. After begging to the branches, they rushed towards other volcanoes supported by the branches. The strength of these lava titans is not strong. The powerful force of these lava titans lies in triggering volcanic eruptions. The people present are all nun masters, the strongest nun recognized by the world, and one of the top 5 nun in the world. There are 2 remaining. One is close to Netero in strength, and the other is also extremely powerful. Under the shots of the 4, the huge lava in the volcano group was soon shattered. The lava titans born from the lava were also wiped out one by 5 people. It's really hard for this old man. I still have to come out to do tasks at such an old age. After eliminating the huge lava and lava titan, several people gathered together. Netero hammered his old waist, complaining, but there was no sign of fatigue on his face. Instead, he was full of energy. The 12 earthly branches looked at Netero, a living treasure, and shook their heads speechlessly. But Jean, this guy didn't care about Netero's tricks at all, but stared at his palm with a solemn expression. Jean, what are you looking at? Potter asked with a frown. Did you encounter this when you killed those lava titans just now? Jean stretched out the things in his palm to Netero and the others and asked them. In Jin's hand is a red spar exuding a scorching aura, and a strange aura emanates from the spar at this time. What is this? Netero asked curiously. Didn't you notice the things that fell from the lava titans after killing them? Jean explained truthfully, and then asked back with a serious look on his face. He now has an ominous premonition, and this ominous premonition is brought to him by this spar. The 3 of them shook their heads when they heard the words. The old man didn't pay attention to this. Me too. No. Seeing this, Jean frowned slightly and complained to the 3 of them inwardly. Those 3 guys, no details at all. However, after finishing speaking, a scorching, tingling sensation suddenly came from Jin's palm. Jean couldn't help throwing the red spar in his hand away from the pain. Jean quickly ran to the edge of the branch and looked down. I saw that the red spar fell into the magma and soon fused with the magma. Seeing this scene, Jean frowned tightly, and the ominous premonition in his heart became stronger and stronger. Chapter 69 Enhancer. Traits on the other hand. Kia, who chased and killed the monsters, completely eliminated the monsters before they entered Salia City. As for why it was so fast, it was because these demonic beasts happened to meet the security forces heading to the plane from Salia City. It was blocked for a while, so Kia was given a chance to wipe it out in one fell swoop. As a result, the security force of Salia City also suffered heavy losses. However, these have nothing to do with Kia. After so many things, the night has already fallen. Kia, who has completed the task released by Netero, has already received her reward and returned to the hotel where she stayed. After returning to the hotel, washing up and paying homage to the 5 Zong Temple, Kia couldn't wait to open her tribute panel to clean up her harvest of the day. 3 bottles of 1,000-year-old stone milk brought out of the underground cave of the Kekali ruins. Then there is wealth. A large amount of treasures were obtained from the sacrificial temples in the ground, and those treasures were exchanged for money, which is estimated to be worth hundreds of billions of rings. Then came the 200 billion that he had bet with Jean. Speaking of which, this guy Jean is really cunning. He transferred the money to me when I was doing business. It's a shame. However, forget it. Let's just leave it at that. With that guy's character, it's probably impossible for him to do something like presenting 200 billion respectfully. If I force him, there's a high probability that I will have one more enemy, and this guy is one of the top 5 nun in the world. In addition to these, there are Netero's 10 billion, and those hunters' IOUs, 700 to 800 million. The treasures in the sacrificial temple are counted as 500 billion, and the total wealth I have obtained today is 717.8 billion. It's really a huge sum of money, so much it will take at least 10 years for me to do the task. Most of them are treasures in the sacrificial temple. The relic hunter is really rich. No wonder this guy, Gene, claims to have presidential-level financial resources. It's all because this guy developed the ruins and obtained the treasures in the ruins. How about I agree to Jin's invitation and form a team with him to explore the ruins? He said to himself, half-jokingly. The next moment, he shook his head and threw away the thought. Just kidding. I'm the killer of the Zoldyck family. How can I be a relic hunter? If I, the future patriarch, really follow Gene to become a relic hunter, my father and grandpa will definitely not agree. Even my great-grandfather Maha. The patriarch of the Zoldyck family has been held by silver-haired people throughout the generations. If they are not silver-haired, they're not eligible to inherit. Once I really make the ruins hunter, it is estimated that Father Silva, Grandpa Gino, and great-grandfather Maha will all come out of Kikuchian to settle accounts with gold. So forget it. With so much financial resources, it is enough to train Tao and the others. The Zoldyck family, the resources that each clansman needs for cultivation, will be provided by the family. But if you want to form a force, that is your own business, and the resources needed to form a force must be provided by you. Kiyu is still thinking that next year, he would try his best to accept the mission and earn enough monies to exchange for various resources to train Tao and the others. But now, this goal has been achieved suddenly. After returning, prepare resources for their cultivation for Tao and the others. Thinking silently in her heart, Kia finally focused on the main event. Strengthening points. 16,532 Kia's current enhancement points are more than 160,000. This was something Kia didn't even dare to think about. Originally, when he came to the Cocoa Ruins this time, Kia's goal was just to get a few thousand reinforcement points here, but he didn't expect to be able to get so many. Name: Kia's Zoldyck ability, none. Conjurer Nun Speed Thunder, 1,000. Trait Nun Space, 5,000. Manipulator Nun Ring of Angels Archangel's Breath, 5,000. Enhancer Nun, 5,000. Emitter Nun Elimination, 1,000. Note: the reinforcement points required for the next reinforcement are in parentheses. Deputy Ability, Cuisine, Advanced Cuisine, 500. Archaeology, Archaeology Expert, 5,000. Note: in brackets are the enhancement points required for the next enhancement. Strengthening points, 16532 items. Aluminum Alloy Yo-Yo 1. Looking at the attribute panel, Kia meditated silently. Last time I strengthened Conjurer's Speed, this time I will strengthen the traits and enhancer. Traits and enhancers have been pulled down too much. It is 2 levels lower than Conjurer. Now that she has the none of these two systems, Kia will not just sit and watch the gap between the two none being created by Conjurer. System, Strengthen Trait System, Space, Strengthen Enhancer. Ding! Use 5,000 enhancement points to strengthen the trait system and space. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the trait system and space operation. Ding! Use 5,000 enhancements to take you to strengthen the enhancer. As soon as the system's voice fell, Kia could clearly feel that 2 huge streams of thought energy suddenly emerged in his body, and a powerful momentum burst out from Kia's body. With the lessons learned from the past, Kia paid attention to this reinforcement all the time and was suppressed by Kia the moment the momentum exploded. But even so, the whole room still shook under the aftermath of the momentum, and the room became a mess. The thought energy that appeared in Kia's body was so huge that it almost reached the 7th level of Kia's peak before it was strengthened. That is to say, with these 2 strengthenings, Kia's Nian Ki directly increased by more than 7 layers. Kia's previous Nian Ki storage had a potential capacity of 100,000, but now it has skyrocketed to more than 170,000. With such a huge mind energy, Kia is sure that the potential energy in his body at this moment has indeed surpassed his father Silva, but he does not know if he has surpassed his grandfather Jinua. At the same time, Kia also felt the changes in the nun space of her enhancer and traits. The enhanced performance of the enhancer is very simple. Kia can clearly perceive that the power of his enhancer Nian Ki has changed greatly, and his physical fitness has more than doubled. This means that his aura of being able to shoot with all his strength has become stronger again, and the power of the explosion has also become stronger. However, without trying it, Kia doesn't know what kind of power his current enhancer can erupt. Can you fight against the Ant King's 3 guards? It's really exciting. As for the space of the trait system, if the previous key, you could only use the simple ability of space movement, then the current key, you has the ability to play with space. Like this. As soon as Kia stretched out his hand, a transparent barrier formed instantly. This was created by Kia's manipulation of the surrounding space, which can defend against powerful attacks. Moreover, even the naughty Zhao can't see this barrier when using Ning transparent barrier. Only Kia can see it. Of course, those of other space systems can also see it. This is a space barrier, which can completely isolate everything inside and outside the barrier. In addition, Kia's hand moved slightly, and a transparent blade spun in the palm of Kia's palm. Kia's thoughts moved slightly, and the next moment, the transparent blade disappeared, and the painting on the wall directly became the 2 halves were smashed and fell down. Space Blade, a sharp blade that manipulates space to cut, is silent, hard to defend, and kills invisible. It is a move that fits Kia's identity as a killer. In addition, there are several other types. As for which ones, I won't say much. Standing up, Kia moved her hands and feet, looked at the mess in the room, and shook her head helplessly. Every breakthrough will cause this situation. After getting off the bed, Kia left the room directly, went to the front desk to compensate for the loss of the room, and then moved into another room. Kia, who had just finished changing rooms and was about to rest, received a phone call. Chapter 70. Return to the plains. Is it Kia? As soon as the connection was made, a hurried voice came from inside, and Kia immediately recognized the owner of the voice as Crook. How does this guy have my phone? Kia thought suspiciously, but he didn't give Crook his contact information. Crook, how did you know my phone number? Kia asked strangely. I took it from the hunters who were treated by you. Crook was slightly taken aback by his urgent tone, and then said. Kia suddenly realized that those guys still owed him money, so he gave them the contact information. Don't tell me this. Kia, I have a request here. 20 billion nuns. Do you want to accept it? After being dazed for a while, Clushu's tone became urgent again. These words made Kia's expression even weirder. Hey guys, are all the top executives of your hunter association so casual? I'm a killer. Is it really okay for you hunters to issue tasks to a killer so casually? Was it infected by old man Netero? Even though he thought so, Kia didn't just say it out of nowhere. If you have money, you don't make ABD. Kia is ready to accept decisively. However, before doing this, she has to look at what the task is. Come on, what is the mission? You'll know when you come here. Crook said hastily. After finishing speaking, he directly hung up the call to 003. The speed of hanging up the phone made Kia a little uncomfortable, staring blankly at the phone in his hand. Are you going? Kia thought of this question. From the words of this fellow Crook, it could be heard that something big seems to have happened on the plane. With Netero, the strongest nun, and Jean, the world's top 5 nun, and the other 212 earthly branches, can something big happen? Moreover, after such a long time, the army of the Take Kingdom should have rushed there. Can't this lineup hold that plane? Kia frowned slightly, thinking strangely. It's really troubling me. I haven't rested yet. I thought so, but Kia still set off to return to the Kekali ruins again. Hey, Kia, where are you going so late? Take me with you. At this moment, a figure walked up the corridor, and Minchi greeted him with a playful smile. Why don't you take a good rest in the room and recover your energy? What are you doing out? Kia tilted his head, puzzled. Moreover, I'm still holding 2 bottles of wine. Kia's eyes fell on the 2 bottles of wine in Minchi's hands, and he thought silently. Hey, I came here to ask you to set up a dragon gate, but it seems that you have something to go out. Take me out together. Go out with you. I think something interesting will happen. Minchi waved the wine bottle in his hand, said. In this case, what else is there besides the matter over the ruins? Kia rolled his eyes. However, since you want to follow, then follow. If you're the only one, I can still protect you. Kia waved his hand and said, Hey, let's go. After getting the answer, Minchi strode over and put his arms on Kia's shoulder and said with a smile, Facial cleanser again. The soft touch from the face made crossroads appear on Kia's forehead, and his face was full of impatience. Can this guy pay attention to his behavior? Hee hee. This kid's expression is the most interesting. Minchi also noticed Kiya's impatience and couldn't help laughing in his heart. Yes, she did on purpose. Teasing Kiya makes her feel happy. What are you going to do with these 2 bottles of wine? Take it with you or keep it in my room? Kiya looked at the 2 bottles of sake in Minchi's hand and asked, "Let's put it in your room first, and I'll drink it when I get back." Minchi replied. Kiya nodded, then opened the door and asked Minchi to put 2 bottles of wine on the wine cabinet in the room. "Okay, let's go. You said that guy issued a mission for you?" On the way, after Minchi learned the reason why Kiya came out, he suddenly became furious. What does that old ant want to do? Crook's age is at best a few years older than Minchi's. But in Minchi's eyes, Crook is just an aging ant, or an ant who is not pleasing to the eye. Ah, Netero and Jean are obviously there, and this guy Crook asked me to issue a mission. I don't know what happened, Jeff, over there. After you get there, you will follow me. Don't run around. Kiya nodded, said, and instructed Minchi. Minchi, who was furious, heard Kiya's words of concern, and his anger dissipated immediately. He looked at Kiya in a daze and didn't speak. On the intricate path, a big tree appeared head-on, and Minchi, who was distracted, almost bumped into the big tree, but at the critical moment, Kiya shot and pulled him over. "Hey, don't be distracted when you're on the road. You almost hit it," Kiya said lightly, circling Minchi's slender waist. "Oh," Minchi, who came back to his senses, answered in a low voice, and then he stopped talking, and the whole person became quiet, as if he had changed into a different person. "I'm going to let go. You run by yourself." Seeing this, Kiya didn't say a word. So she was going to let Minchi go and let Minchi run by herself. "Hey, Kiya, run with me behind your back." As soon as Kiya spoke, Minchi seemed to have recovered his previous personality. Kiya's neck, lying on Kiya's back, and said with a smile, "Come down for me. Why are you here too? And you still look like this, Puff, no, huh?" After seeing Kiya appear, Krook rushed over immediately. However, when he saw Minchi after that, he was stunned, and then he burst out laughing. At this time, Minchi's cheeks were extremely red, swollen, making that beautiful face unbalanced, like a doormat. "It's nothing, this guy's making progress," Zhou replied lightly for Minchi. Minchi snorted coldly, turned his face away, and ignored Kiya. When Krook heard this, he glanced at the 2 of them with a strange expression. Where are Netero and Jean? Also, what happened here? Kiya stood beside Krook, looking at everything in front of him, frowning slightly. The president and Jean entered the ruins, but they haven't come out yet. As for here, as you can see, the magma has spread over, and the speed is very fast, and these monsters born from the magma. Keilu Shu quickly told Kiya about the more than an hour when Kiya left. Everything that happened. At this time, Kiya was presented with an endless sea of magma, and the magma spreading from the canyon had completely filled up the huge crack opened by Jinsoa, spreading over from the crack. And the magma outside, the canyon, half of the area of the plain has been occupied, and the magma is still slowly spreading. These are not the point. The point is that the spreading magma will crawl out of the magma from time to time. Huge lava titans. At this time, the hunters staying here and the troops sent by the Tech Kingdom are fighting against these lava titans, but they are fighting and retreating. As long as there is magma, these lava titans cannot be killed. Even if it is continuously shattered, it can be resurrected from the magma again. Looking at the scene in front of him, Kiya frowned tightly. Chapter 71, Heart of Lava. "So these are the tasks you want to release?" Kiya looked at Krook and asked. "Well, I hope you can help me completely wipe out these monsters born in the magma. How can it be done?" Krook nodded lightly. Hearing this, Kiya didn't answer directly, but pinched her chin and silently looked at the lava sea in front of her. Krook didn't bother Kiya either. 10 seconds later, Kiya stretched out his hand suddenly, moved his fingers lightly towards one of the lava titans that had just been revived from the magma, and made a bound gesture. The next moment, in Kiya's eyes, a transparent frame appeared to surround the lava servant, and immediately, the space inside the frame began to distort. Boom! Then there was a crackling sound, and the lava titan that Kia aimed at with his left hand suddenly burst open. Space burst. The tearing attack formed by squeezing the space can easily tear everything in the space to pieces. Even Balian iron and steel, if hit by this move, will be torn to pieces. The blasted lava was scattered in the magma, and there was no movement for a long time, as if it had been completely killed. This scene stunned the army and hunters who were fighting against the lava titan, because every time these lava titans are destroyed, they will be resurrected from the magma in less than 2 seconds. They can't kill them at all, but they can't leave them alone. They can only kill them again and again, so as to slow down the pace of these molten titans. But this time, after the lava titan was destroyed, it didn't come back to life. Could it be that it was really killed? Immediately, their eyes turned to this side. After seeing the appearance of the visitor, the hunters all breathed a sigh of relief. Now that the boss is here, things will be much easier to handle. With this boss around, there is absolutely no problem. Kia's ability to directly sweep the entire battlefield with a single blow has made the hunters present thoroughly understand and recognize Kia's strength. When discussing Kia in private, they always discuss it as a big boss. As for those troops, they did not respond with a sigh of relief. Although Kia killed a lava titan, there are dozens of lava titans here, and it's not time for them to relax. An officer who looked like a leader quickly ran towards Kia. "Miss Crook, who is this boy?" After running over, the officer asked Crook. "Kia, the helper I called." Crook replied lightly. "Kia, hello. I'm Taylor Fu, the commander-in-chief of the Take Army." The officer stretched out his hand and introduced himself respectfully to Kia. Although Kia was very young, Taylor Fu dared not show slightest neglect or disrespect at all. He has already confirmed Crook's identity, one of the top 12 earthly branches in the Hunter Association, and Kia, who can stand with Crook, is definitely not an easy person. Although he is the supreme commander of the army of a country, the position of the supreme commander of the army is only a small country. He may have a high position in the country of Tech, but in front of Hunter, especially the 12 earthly branches, this status is insignificant. In addition, Kia's behavior just now is also worthy of him, because whether these monsters can be killed is related to the safety of the entire Take country. If the situation here is not dealt with thoroughly, it will threaten the whole country. The magma on the ground is very easy to handle, as long as a huge crack is made in front to isolate the magma from the outside world. At that time, the pulp can be processed slowly. Now the problem before them is these unkillable monsters. Through his observation just now, the existence of these monsters has increased the speed of the spread of these magmas several times. If I don't stop them, they will soon be forced to leave this place, and then they will threaten the city of Salia behind them, and even the entire country. Faced with Taylor Fu's respectful behavior, Kia nodded lightly and did not respond, but put his gaze into the lava sea. There seemed to be something stiff in the monster's body just now, and it was torn to pieces by my space burst. Kia had a little guess in his heart and raised his left hand again, aiming at another lava titan. Facing Kia's ignorance, Taylor Fu did not complain at all, especially after seeing Kia's hand aimed at the other lava titan. A smile appeared on his rigid Chinese character face. Although Kia ignored him, it would be great if Kia could take action to destroy these monsters. "Rah, did you find anything?" Crook saw Kia's actions and also guessed what Kia should have seen, so he couldn't help asking curiously. "Ah, I found something. I'll give it a try now," Kia nodded and said. Afterwards, the left hand once again made a gesture of Dongfu. Bang! The lava titan that Kia was aiming at suddenly exploded under the squeeze of the space. This time, the lava titan that was exploded was not completely shattered. A piece of red spar floated in midair while the lava was flying, slowly falling down. With a thought, Kia directly used the space ability to send this red spar over. As soon as he held this spar, a system prompt sounded in his mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the special treasure Lava Heart. Lava Heart. Lava is the core of the Titan. The core is not destroyed, and the Titan is not destroyed. Hearing this reminder, Kia was taken aback for a moment. In other words, as long as this spar is destroyed, these monsters called lava titans can be completely exterminated. Yes, host, but this system does not recommend that the host destroy the lava core. Each lava core can convert 100 enhancement points. Besides, using mind energy to refine the lava core can also change the host's physique, improve the host's affinity for flames, and the host cultivation of the fire attribute Conjurer Nun will be easy. Well, it seems that this thing is really a rare treasure. Listening to the system's explanation, Kia's eyes gradually narrowed and the corners of his mouth curled up. Kia, what is this? Crook and Minchie looked at the lava heart in Kia's hand and asked curiously. They could tell that the things in Kia's hands were definitely good things. Otherwise, Kia wouldn't show this expression. Kia's expression now is like a little fox who got a beloved toy. It's nothing. Kia shook her head and didn't want to explain. Afterwards, he looked at the lava titans that were constantly being killed and revived in the lava sea. Leave these monsters to me. Rumble. Door. Chapter 72, The Grudged Crook. The dense thunderbolts illuminated the night sky, and the magma sea completely opened up a feast of thunder at this moment. The thunder branch once again spread its sharp fangs on the plain. The scene was huge, and hundreds of lava titans that made everyone present helpless were completely destroyed under the bombardment of the thunder. The ghost's lava core floating in midair was caught by the thunder that turned into a palm before it fell into the magma to regenerate and sent it towards Kia. Not everyone present saw the abnormality of lava core. Some shrewd-eyed hunters have already noticed that something is wrong with the lava core. However, they are helpless about it because their Nien Ki has not recovered until now. Only a very small amount of Nien Ki has recovered, and it is impossible to launch a 493 attack to destroy the lava titan along with the lava core. So, it is impossible to determine the lava titan's identity weakness. They have seen the existence of the lava core, and they know that this red spar is very important. But the rare Nien Ki couldn't get the lava core before it fell into the magma. After all, they couldn't enter the magma sea. Moreover, these lava titans are very doggy. They're always in the middle of the magma sea. They will never get close to the edge, and they don't give the hunters any chance at all. They only know how to push the magma and act together with the magma. As for Crook, although she is much stronger than other hunters, her Nun is not good at fighting by nature. It's okay at close range, but the power of long-range attacks is not satisfactory. After all, she is not a transmuter Nun. As for the army, this country does not seem to have two strong thermal weapons. It seems that they're all rifles, not even a bazooka. Even the underworld can get a bazooka. This country doesn't have it. A poor ghost, otherwise it would not be able to destroy a lava titan by now. I don't know what the top management of this country thinks. Once the bazooka is out, once it hits, the lava titan and lava core will be blown to pieces. Although this country has a large area, it is not unreasonable that it is a small country. They don't even know how to develop armaments. It's over like this, as expected of a boss. It's different for the boss to make a move. He directly hits the whole field. Seeing that Kia arrived, he easily eliminated the lava titan that so many of them were helpless. The hunters present were all shocked, followed by worship and admiration. And some hunters started a lick. I don't know if this boss is recruiting subordinates. If so, I will be the first to sign up. Being able to become the subordinate of a powerful Nun is also a good thing for the new Nun. Quilt. Me too. I think you want to lose the 100 million ring Nuns. No way. Even if I become the boss's subordinate, I will pay back the 100 million Nuns. Everyone began to discuss in private. Most of them were discussing whether Ki would accept his subordinates. Kia's 2 shots have completely conquered this group of people. Many people hope to become Kia's subordinates. However, these Kia do not know. Even if Kia knew about it, she probably wouldn't pay attention to it. Kia will not recruit subordinates at will, but recruit subordinates who are talented and talented. Just like the Tals of the Karuta tribe. Don't even think about these crooked melons and dates. After waving all the lava hearts into the system space, Kia looked at Crook, took out the phone, and put it in front of Crook. The sincerity is 20 billion. Please pay the bill. This is my account number. Crook slowly withdrew his eyes from the lava sea and looked at Kia. It's done so easily. Why do I feel that your showmanship has become stronger again? Crook took out his mobile phone and started transferring money, and said suspiciously while transferring money. In Kia's attack, just now, she could see that the power of the thunder tree released by Kia became stronger again. This means that Kia's display capacity has increased again this time. Did you see that? Women are really careful enough. Kia looked at Crook unexpectedly and silently sighed. Kia, don't look at this guy. Min-Shi, who was thinking of ignoring Kia for a while, saw Kia's gaze and suddenly became furious. He quickly walked behind Kia and covered Kia's face eyes. Kia, Min-Shi, this guy is jealous enough. He might really like me. Blindfolded Kia thought helplessly. This guy's been teasing himself, and every time he talks to Crook, this guy will make trouble and be full of jealousy. Taken together, this performance is very similar to the scenes I often saw in my previous life. President leaves such a big trouble to me. When he comes back, he must reimburse me for this task, otherwise I won't do it. Crook didn't try to tease Min-Shi's jealousy this time. Instead, he stared at the account deposit in his mobile phone with distress and whispered resentfully. She is not gold. She has huge financial resources. As a plant hunter, her net worth is not rich, only about a few tens of billions, and the sudden transfer of 20 billions made Crook very distressed. Okay, 0.7. This time the task is completed. I'll go back first. Kia broke Min-Shi's hand and said to Crook, the task is completed. Kia doesn't need to stay here anymore. He has to go back to rest. Oh, then that's it. Goodbye, Kia. Crook heard this, raised his head, looked at Kia with resentment, and said, 20 billion, half of my property. Stared at by Crook's eyes, Kia felt slightly trembling, nodded, and then directly grabbed Min-Shi, dropped a word, and left here quickly. 20 billion is my task reward, and I won't pay you back. Crook, who was resentful, was stunned when he heard the words, and then the corners of his mouth rose slightly. This kid is really interesting. Chapter 73, Refining Lava Core, Fire Attribute Resistance. Phew, I can finally have a good rest. It was past 2 o'clock in the morning when I rushed back to Salia City as fast as possible. As soon as I got back to the hotel, Kia went straight to her room and lay on her back on the white bed, on the sheets. As for why Kia didn't directly use the space ability to come back, it's just that way, and there is no rush, so Kia won't waste his thoughts at will. I have been using none all day today, and Kia's Nun Ki is now less than 2 levels. If something happens suddenly when you come back here, and you need to fight with your thoughts, then it won't be fun. Kia never wanted to put herself in crisis. What are you resting for? Get up, and I will play a dragon's battle with my mother. As soon as Kia lay down, she was picked up by Min-Shi. Yep, this guy Min-Shi is there too. This guy didn't go back to her own room at all and followed her on the grounds that she wanted to get back her 2 bottles of wine. Let me tell you, what time is it? You are alone in the same room, so you're not afraid of other people's gossip. Kia, who was picked up, was very helpless. It's just you, a brat, and a widow. Min-Shi glanced at Kia disdainfully upon hearing this. 08. Smelly girl, considering your real age, I could be your 19th brother. Tell me, what did you do after we parted in the Wetmula wetland last time? Min-Shi jumped up, sat cross-legged on the sheet, and pressed his hands on his thighs, carelessly. With burning eyes, he stared at Kia and said, why do you ask this? Kia yawned lazily and said sleepily. Although Kia's mental strength is enough for Kia to stay up late for several days in a row, but once he feels sleepy, he really can't stand it. Hey, I just want to know how my little brother is doing recently. Min-Shi laughed. Who is your little brother? And just for this, Kia feels a bit pained. Okay, after I've said that, you can go back to sleep. Yawning again, Kia rubbed her eyes and said helplessly, yeah, tell me. Min-Shi nodded vigorously, then opened a bottle of sake, took a sip directly into the bottle, and looked at Kia expectantly. This guy seems to be underage, so he drinks alcohol. After leaving the wetland, I came back. Kia yawned and began to talk. But Min-Shi on the opposite side listened attentively at this time. Kia saw that serious look for the first time, as if what she experienced was very important to her. That's exactly what it was. Omitting the sake, she drank now and then. In other words, Sake seems to be used for drinking, but Minchi blows it directly. How should I say it? Bold enough? No, the alcohol content of this kind of wine is not high. On the contrary, the alcohol content is very low, just a little bit higher than that of wine. Kiya talked about his experience, while Minchi listened carefully, drinking sake from time to time, and the time passed little by little. Unknowingly, both of them fell on the bed. Well, one is sleepy and the other is gone. He passed out after 2 bottles of sake, and this guy Minchi's drinking capacity is a bit too much to hurt. The next morning, he slowly woke up from his deep sleep. Kiya was suffocated. In her sleep, Kiya seemed to be hugged by a soft teddy bear, and she couldn't break free at all. Even her face was pressed against her chest by the teddy bear, and she had difficulty breathing. After waking up, John was stunned. There are no teddy bears. It's all caused by Minchi. This guy didn't know when he hugged Kiya in his arms, and he still restrained Kiya as tightly as an octopus. The smell of wine is so strong. Kiya, who woke up, frowned slightly, and then, "Get up, idiot Minchi!" Kiya flipped the table. Minchi was thrown flying by Kiya and landed on the floor in an arc. "It hurts!" Just like that, Minchi woke up directly from the pain, sat on the floor, and gently rubbed his buttocks. His face was dazed, as if he hadn't figured out the situation yet. However, the moment she turned her gaze to Kiya, Minchi immediately woke up. "Kiya, why are you in my room?" Minchi suddenly stood up from the ground, pointed at Kiya, and asked. The crossroads are flying wildly on Kiya's forehead. Kiya's head is full of black lines. "Look clearly. Whose room is this here?" Raising his head slowly, Kiya growled at Minchi. I'm sorry. I'm leaving right away." This roar directly awakened Minchi's memory of last night. Minchi smiled awkwardly, apologized, and then quickly left the room. The door was closed heavily. Kiya took a deep breath and sat down on the bed. Should he belong to the manipulator? This guy has a lot of nerves. With a helpless sigh, Kiya was speechless about Minchi's character. However, soon, Kiya put this matter behind her. After washing up, Kiya asked the hotel waiter to deliver a Chinese meal. After quickly eliminating the breakfast, Kiya took out one of the lava cores in the system space. "System, how do you refine this thing?" "Host, hold it in the palm of your hand, wrap it with thought energy, and refine it directly." "Is that so?" Of course, the host can also use 10 strengthening points to let the system refine it. The difference between the two is that the refining by the host takes a long time, while the refining by the system can be completed within a few minutes. How long will it take me to refine it myself? One day, one night. Kiya. System. Use dry strengthening points to refine this Rongyun heart. Understood. The system responded and was about to start. However, Kiya suddenly thought of something and quickly stopped the system. System. Will this refinement explode with a powerful aura like the enhancement? Key 527 is really afraid that it will explode like it did during the enhancement, destroying the room again. Don't worry. Host. No, refining the lava core will only change the host's physique and increase the host's affinity for the fire element attribute. That's right, then I can rest assured. The system, let's refine it. There was no response, and the system started directly. Kiya could feel an invisible force enveloping him. Then the ruby crystal in the palm of his hand melted little by little, and his body changed slightly. A scorching sensation appeared quickly. Kiya felt as if he was being burned by a fire. But it didn't rush to the slightest pain, but it was extremely gentle. Kiya can feel that his body seems to be resistant to flames, just like his resistance to points before. Even if he puts his hands in the fire now, even if you don't turn on elementalization, you won't be burned. Host, may I ask, do you want to continue refining the lava core? The system's voice sounded again. Can a lava core be refined repeatedly? Kiya was slightly taken aback. Yes, but the effect will gradually diminish. The host's physique at this time can probably refine 10 lava hearts. So that's how it is. One piece made my body have this kind of change, so what will happen to the refining field? Perhaps if I fight Phaeton from Phantom Troop again, and that guy's unique move is released, even if I don't use elementalization, I won't be burned. System, continue to strengthen. Chapter 74. Entering the ruins. Why are you back again? On the plain, in a tent. Crook was observing a strange-looking flower in the tent and looked back at Kia, who appeared in the tent at some time, wondering, have Jean and old Netero come back yet? Kia didn't answer, but asked a rhetorical question. No, it's been a day and a night, and there is no news. I am afraid that something was discovered in the ruins, and it was delayed. Mentioning this, Crook's face became resentful again. If these two guys had come out of the ruins, she wouldn't have needed to hire Kia at her own expense yesterday. Don't look at me like that. Yesterday's deal was yours. I didn't force you. Being stared at by Crook's resentful eyes again, Kia became resistant, and she got rid of it very freely. He waved his hand, as if he had nothing to do with me. Okay, I see. By the way, what's the matter with you coming back here again? Crook heard the words, withdrew his grievances, and asked again. The situation here has been brought under control. The tech army and the hunters have made two huge cracks on the edge of the plain, and the flowing magma has entered the cracks without the existence of lava titans. The flow speed of magmas is very normal. The ferocious trend of yesterday simply won't happen again. It's nothing. I'm very interested in the tree in the ruins, and I want to go back and have a look. That's right. That's exactly what Kia came back here for. In the past, Kia thought that after killing the monsters, he would go back to the ruins to study the patron saint of the ruins after taking a rest. When waking up in the morning, Kia did not use the 1,000-year stone milk to exercise his body, but first refined the lava core for this reason. Possessing an affinity for flames, this has a very important effect on Kia, who is turned into a sea of fire and a sea of magma this time when Kia returns. Since he was going back to study the towering tree, he naturally had to stay inside for a while. Staying in the magma sea for a long time, even if Kia has elementalization, is a very difficult challenge for Kia. After all, the circle can't keep turning on the elementalization, and the consumption of air conditioning like that is too huge. And having resistance to flames is the best choice for Kia. Moreover, Kia is also very curious about what happened in the ruins. They were able to keep Jean and Netero in the sea of fire for more than a day and a night. Crook's eyes lit up when he heard Kia's purpose, and then he frowned slightly. The inside is full of magma now. Are you sure to go in? Crook was very puzzled. The exit of the ruins, the Grand Canyon, is now covered by magma, and there is no way in. In this situation, Kia actually asked how to get in. Of course I have my own way, Kia said with a faint smile, and immediately he offered to leave. Okay, since Jean and the others are not here, then I should go too. So that's it. After speaking, Kia was about to leave. This time, Crook was not happy. Hey, Brat, is it boring to chat with a beautiful woman like me? I'm going to leave in such a hurry. Crook shouted with a look of displeasure. I'm in a hurry. Kia was slightly taken aback when he heard this, and then raised his eyebrows and said, Heck. With these words, Crook's violent temper was about to be irritated. You guys actually admitted it. Okay, let's not talk about it. Since you have the ability to go in, then take me one. I'm also very interested in that big tree. The corners of his eyes twitched, and Crook directly stated his purpose. Don't you need to manage the situation here? Kia heard the words, looked at the situation outside, and said back. He doesn't mind bringing Crook in and having a few exchanges with him. Although he hasn't become friends yet, Kia has a good sense of Crook, but don't worry about things here. The country's highest military commander is here. I, a hunter from the Hunter Association, shouldn't interfere too much. Even if you don't come, I will go back to Salia City for repairs. Crook waved his hand. It doesn't matter. The task given by Netero is to let her control the scene. Now that the scene is under control, the army of the Take Kingdom has also come, so let them take over. She doesn't want to waste too much time here. It was originally a matter of this country. Okay, follow if you want. Kia pondered for a moment and agreed. Well, I'll make some arrangements, and I'll be leaving right away. Crook nodded, and then left here. A few minutes later, Luke returned here. Okay, let's go. Okay, the two came to the edge of the crack, looking at the slowly flowing red-black magma on the opposite side of the crack. Crook looked over. How are you going to get in? Just go in like this. Hearing this, Kia said with a dry smile on the corner of her mouth. Then, he jumped up directly across the crack and landed on the magma. Hey you. Yeah. Seeing Kia's reckless behavior, Crook was shocked and shouted directly, but she swallowed the rest of the words. Seeing Kia standing on the magma without any problems, Crook swallowed hard. How did this kid do it? Okay, come here, I'll follow you. Kia stretched out his hands and said to Crook. Crook frowned slightly upon hearing this. She naturally saw what Kia meant, and it was nothing more than letting her jump over, and he carried himself into the ruins. However, she had never been hugged by a man before, which made her hesitate. However, this hesitation quickly disappeared. Just a little fart, Qian Zhao. Child, what are you afraid of? Crook didn't hesitate anymore and just jumped over. However, Crook didn't land on Kia's hands, but jumped onto Kia's back and put his hands around Kia's neck. Kia was stunned, holding Klook with both hands. What are you doing? Okay, that's it, let's go. Crook gave Kia a sideways look and said. Kia also pouted, without saying anything. The whole person turned into an afterimage and quickly rushed towards the canyon at the exit of the ruins. On the other side, in the center of the ruins, on the towering tree, Netero and the others were standing on the branches with their eyes closed, motionless, and they didn't know what they were doing. If you can open their eyelids, you can find that the eyeballs under their eyelids are rotating irregularly at this time. Netero and others seem to be dreaming at this time. Chapter 75, Nindomain. Hey, Kia, how did you do it? In the ruins on the magma sea, an afterimage quickly passed by. Crook on Kia's back looked at the magma sea under his feet and asked curiously. Kia's feet were not burned by the magma at all when they stepped on the magma, and they didn't sink in as if they stepped on the sand on the beach. This made her very curious. If it wasn't for the scorching temperature on the magma and the air waves hitting her all the time, she would have thought that the magma had solidified, but it hadn't changed color due to other strange reasons. You want to know? Kia smiled lightly upon hearing this. Yeah, Crook said frankly. This ability she has never heard of, never seen. Chenghui 100 million monks. Kia grinned and threw out a sentence. Hey, one question is even stronger. What a money grubber. Crook's eyelids twitched suddenly. It was the first time he saw Kia like this, and he lost his eyes. If you want information from me, it's not wrong for me to charge some information fees. Kia rolled his eyes and said, The heart of lava is a treasure for anyone. If you, Crook, ask me about the heart of lava, it is normal for me to charge information fees. Information? That's right, but if you're so stingy, no girls will like you in the future. As soon as the words came out, Crook also thought of this. 860 nodded in agreement, but then said, dissatisfied. I don't need you to worry about that. Kia said with a faint smile. Forget, you're very lucky. You've already got old bulls eyeing you. Crook thought of Min Shi, couldn't help curling his lips, and said, Min Shi, that guy does seem to have this kind of thought, but I haven't thought about it for the time being, and I don't want to see how old I am. You also know your age. Children should be the cutest, period. You're not cute at all. Thank you for the compliment. I didn't praise you. Chatting nonsense while driving, the distance between the two of them and the towering giant tree was getting closer. Half an hour later, the two finally stepped into the range of the towering giant tree. However, as soon as he stepped into this range, Kia's body flashed a green light, and Kia's complexion changed suddenly, and he retreated quickly. What was that just now? Kia could feel that just now, 2 seconds ago, when he stepped into the range of the towering giant tree, he seemed to have entered a very strange field. This field was full of special thoughts, which made him my spirit suddenly became confused BGDH. Fortunately, his manipulator nun was activated independently, so he didn't fall into a coma. In this case, once Kia fell into a coma, Kia would be fine, but Crook would definitely be in big trouble. Surrounded by magma. Even if Crook had the protection of mind energy, he couldn't hold it for too long. Hey, Crook, did you feel anything just now? Kia turned her head and asked Crook. However, as soon as the words fell, Kia felt that Crook's hands around her began to loosen. Crook's whole body slowly fell backwards. His open eyes were dark and out of focus. Kia's pupils shrank suddenly, and he quickly threw Crook up, and then a princess hugged him quickly to catch him. What the hell is this? Catching Crook, looking at her dazed face, her out-of-focus eyes, let Kia know that Crook has lost consciousness now. Kia couldn't help but look forward, feeling in her heart a palpitation. Kia didn't know what happened to Crook, but Kia knew that this must be caused by Nun. The one just now was Nun, and that kind of Nun acts on people, making people lose consciousness. It is because I have the elimination Nun, and at the moment when the body touches this kind of Nun, I automatically activate the elimination of thoughts, so I'll be fine. Crook doesn't have this ability. Forehead. Kia suddenly thought of something and closed his eyes speechlessly. If it weren't for holding Crook with both hands now, Kia would definitely pull out one hand and hit her forehead. Isn't removing Nun just to get rid of Nun? Just get rid of the Nun and Crook directly by yourself. Just do what you say. Kia directly launched the removal of Nun. The green light covered Crook's body, slowly eliminating the strange aura on Crook's body. The focus in Crook's eyes slowly recovered, and it recovered completely after a minute. This is me. Crook, who had recovered, had no idea what happened to him just now. After seeing himself being hugged by Princess Kia, Crook instinctively covered his chest and then screamed. What's going on? Why did I run ahead of you? What did you do just now? You can't remember what happened just now, Kia asked with a frown, ignoring Crook's weird brain circuit. Just now. Looking at Kia's expression, Crook also knew that something must have happened just now, and he didn't mess around and began to think and recall. Just now you were running fast with my back on your back, but as I was running, I felt a special thought rush into my mind, and then I fainted. After thinking about it for a few minutes, Crook finally recalled the situation just now. Kia nodded and then expressed his thoughts. You mean the place in front of us is covered by this kind of Nun? Once you enter, you'll be recruited? Crook frowned. One, so we can't get in. Crook's face was slightly ugly. The president and the others are all inside. This kind of thing happened here. The president and the others must have had an accident. Isn't it my car? I'll just drive in. Kia's expression was serious, but his words were very casual. Keep on in all the time. Can you bear it? Crook disagrees with Kia's approach, but she knows that Nun consumes a lot of thought energy, so he is worried that Kia can't bear it if he keeps on Nun. Then they'll be stuck in it too. Let's go back the same way first, and go back and think about countermeasures. I'm going to use my authority to hold a meeting of the 12 earthly branches and let other people think of a way together. You seem to have misunderstood me. Kia grinned and said. The next moment, a terrifying thought energy suddenly erupted from Kia's body, and the powerful thought energy directly repelled everything within a radius of 10 meters. Terrifying. Crook stared at Kia in a daze, opened his small mouth slightly, and muttered to himself, what a terrifying thought. Let me tell you first, the Nun Ki consumed by Nun can't keep up with the Nun Ki. I recover every moment, so you don't need to worry at all. Kia gave Shu Luke a shot of distraction. Kia's physique at this time is extremely powerful, and her strong physique has brought Kia powerful strength, strong defense power, and at the same time brought Kia strong recovery power. Whether it is the recovery of injuries or the recovery of thoughts. This guy, maybe he can really do it. Looking at Kia's confident smile, Kia's burst of terror at this time, Crook thought blankly. Chapter 76. The culprit. We didn't have this kind of situation when we came here before, and we don't know what happened here. In a magma sea, a green light shadow flashed by, and Crook, who was hugged by Kia, carefully inspected the surrounding situation, said softly, I don't know, but the one who uses this Nun is definitely a super strong person. Even I almost fell for it, Kia said with a solemn expression. Judging from a situation just now, this Nun is aimed at the spiritual aspect, which can make people instantly stunned and lose consciousness. Crook was hit just now. However, even he was tricked. One can imagine how powerful this Nun is. Similarly, the person who uses this Nun is definitely a super strong. A superpower who is not weaker than Netero, not weaker than Jean. Nun is the ability to cultivate both body and mind. Nun masters basically have very strong mental power. Just like Netero, this guy's will is tougher than refined steel. Although Kia's spirit can't be compared with Netero's, but it is also extremely tenacious. But there is no chance to resist. If not for the presence of Dinon, Kia just fell directly on the magma sea, and Crook would also be swallowed by the magma and fall here. Facing such an opponent, When Crook proposed to return to the original place, Kia was ready to agree for a moment, but this idea was erased by Kia, because Kia really wants to see what kind of strong man has this ability. With the exception of none, I'm not afraid of being affected. If you have space ability, you can retreat directly if you can't beat it. At the same time, Kia also has plans to find Jean. After all, although Jean is not a friend, he is also in trouble. Let's be careful. If we really meet the person who released none, we will avoid him directly.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.